Hello again. Hello. It is March 11th. It is the evening of March 11th, 2024. I'm welcomed again, once again.
Hello.
Sam McGilligan. How are you?
Hello.
My co-host.
Fantastic.
the most
It's the
handsome man in the
evening, but it's not fully dark out yet.
Which is amazing.
I thrive.
I thrive too, especially the first few days after I was going to say trade deadline day, but the first few days after daylight savings time, I'm thriving, man. I love it.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah, like I used to come up from I work in my basement. Insert your joke about hockey person who lives in their basement. But I come up and I hate coming upstairs and it's dark, but it's like magical when I come upstairs at the end of the day.
It's so light.
And it's beautiful out.
Yeah, I know.
It's great. And it was a nice day today too. Got to go outside for a little bit, you know. It was garbage day. Got to take my bins out to the curb and back.
What an experience.
It was so great. Yeah, got to go outside for a little. Anyway, we're also joined by producer AJ, I suppose. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Hello.
But it's dark outside my window, and we live not that far away from each other. So
I mean, it's probably dark by now, but
it is kind of
relatively quickly.
It was still,
yeah,
there was still beacons of light.
Yes.
I walked in this house.
By the way, get your eclipse glasses, by the way. Go to the library, get them for free. April 8th, 3 p.m., mark it down. Find a nice spot, put up a picnic blanket, and have a sandwich, and
go blind.
Well, that's what you get the glasses for, silly boy. It's actually kind of funny.
It's all just one big conspiracy to blind the population. I can't even say it with a straight face.
Yeah, the Canadian government's trying to blind just a very narrow strip of southern Ontario, just a very narrow strip, and maybe some of New Brunswick.
Planned.
Really, just
that whole green
very specific. Yes, but anyway, this is a hockey show. So we're gonna just get into some hockey topics, I suppose, because we don't want to get too off the rails right away. But before we do, we'll get into our sponsors of the show. We're brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our affiliate link below, or scan the QR code in the chat window to provide a kickback to the show on anything you buy in the store. You can also support us, both Sam and I, through Puck Prep subscription to get all your NCAA and CHL prospect needs. You can also support us through Fractal Hockey Consulting, which is my business for hand-track targeted player analysis and recruitment packages. And if you are a player interested in opportunities playing in Europe, you can DM me or email contact@fractalhockey.com about the Golden Bucket Tournament, which is a wonderful partner of ours. And of course, Scouching.ca, where you can subscribe to Scouching.ca to get exclusive access to data tools with tons of insight into draft prospects and players making their way into the NHL. So we're going to start with what the hell is happening to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yo.
They are down bad. They're
down very bad.
They're down very bad. They're 1-5-1 in their last 7. In the month of March, they have given up 23 goals in 6 games. They have only scored 7. However, there is one team in the league that has a worse goals for percentage than the Pittsburgh Penguins. Can you guess who that would be?
The Ottawa Red Wings.
No, actually, the Ottawa Senators have done better, but the Red Wings, you had it half right. You had the city wrong, but you were close. The Detroit Red Wings have 3 goals in their 4 games so far in this month.
Awful, I'm sorry.
With 14 goals against in those games. But the Pittsburgh Penguins, I mean, going into this last couple of weeks, we kind of talked about the next, 2 or 3 weeks being sort of a destiny thing.
We did have a bit of a conversation of that where I think both of us landed a bit more on the optimistic side of maybe it's not the it for Pittsburgh. I was saying maybe they shouldn't trade Jake Gensel. So I don't know if that was just the last bit of voodoo the universe needed to just go, nope,
and
that franchise is done. But
they immediately fell apart.
It's over.
They immediately fell apart. It's bad. They have now gotten rid of Jake Gensel. They traded Chad Ruhwedel. AJ, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if they got rid of anyone else.
Not that I can think of, but I'm sure they might have.
Gensel. I mean, small minor moves elsewhere, but
Michael Bunting
the main
comes
one.
in.
Yeah, Michael Bunting comes in. That's a big one. Yeah,
Dubas gets his guy.
Dubas gets his guy back. Dubas loves his guys. That's what they say. I mean, getting Jake Gensel a $1.5 million cap hit for Carolina was great. That's pretty cool. Hasn't played yet, but we'll get into some of the trade deadline stuff in a little bit. But the Pittsburgh Penguins, we're talking about them specifically. It has been a bad run. They got rid of Gensel, of course. They got absolutely manhandled by the Edmonton Oilers 4-0.
They're getting absolutely manhandled every which way but loose.
Yes. The last 3 games, they've been outscored 15-1. I mean, I was listening to 32 Thoughts, and it sounds like both of them agree that they seem to have quote unquote given up. They're kind of done. I mean, I guess I can understand that, considering they just took arguably one of their better not old players, probably their best not old player, and traded him to within the division, right? Like,
that is the morale kicker. And
right.
The whole thing was like, do you want to kick the morale of that team, or do you want to try again next year? And I guess you know what? Nothing like a good old morale curb stomp to just get the season out.
And they also traded him to a team that can keep him. If they wanted to, they could probably open the wallet and keep Gensel if it works. If he wants to stay,
that would be unfortunate for every Pittsburgh fan, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and then Pittsburgh fans get to see him a whole bunch for years and years and years on the other team. But anyway, so the Penguins are in a tough spot. They got rid of arguably one of their best players for their age. Obviously you can say Sidney Crosby's amazing for a 36-year-old athlete or whatever it is.
Yes, but you ain't having Crosby winning a lot of whole stuff when he's
in 5 years,
41, 42 years old.
Yeah, I mean, what we talked about on the show was more about the role for him kind of changing. I wasn't really like, he was asked after a game not too long ago about what it means to like lose a Jay Gensel, and he kind of just went, nah, you got to ask management, right? Just like, nah, I don't know, I can't answer that question. And to me, that's a bit troublesome. I don't know. I guess it really depends on the type of person that Sidney Crosby is. He's such an insane competitor that he wants to is he such an insane competitor that he wants to win every year, or is he cool with the idea of, I've won my cups, I'm going to turn around and pay it forward to the Braden Yeagers of the world and the whoever the heck Pittsburgh's bringing into town, Ville Koivunens of the world.
you don't really know for sure, right? But I find it very interesting when I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, has Crosby ever really experienced true loss on a trade deadline day before?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Nothing comes to mind immediately.
Maybe when he was a kid, but I don't think that the Pittsburgh Penguins were bad.
Crosby has consistently in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Never selling.
It was
always making moves to go back the next year.
Well, it's a completely different paradigm. It's completely different.
Oh, it is. It's just like this. It's crazy that like at the end of his career, it's the very first time this man is sitting there like losing like his duo.
Yeah.
Or like his current duo.
Well, they're one of the best lines in the league.
Yeah.
Like him and Brian Rust and Jake Gensel this year have just been outstanding. And the team just can't win.
It's a shame.
They lost 6-0 to the Capitals. Like it's not great. They're playing the Senators tomorrow night. That will be
that's
one. Like
must watch for
tank
all
bowl.
the bad reasons.
Yeah, I guess now the conversation can pivot a little bit to the tank bowls of the year for the rest of the year, because Pittsburgh clearly isn't gunning for those playoff spots. It doesn't seem like it.
That's going to be the one game Sidney scores a hat trick
just
to make sure they win that one.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we'll see what happens with them, but like, I don't know. Like it's they still remain. We said this a few weeks ago, but it's still true. They're going to be one of the most fascinating teams.
Oh yeah.
For the next few years of what are they going to do? Like they've got Erik Karlsson in town forever. Crosby has one more year on his contract. I think Malkin also has one more year on his contract, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think he signed pretty recently an extension.
I thought it was just a really short one, but I'll take a look.
But I don't think it's.
Oh no, it's the year after. It's the year after. So 2026, he's gone. Crosby has until 2025, and I mean, Chris Letang is there till 2028, and he's already 36 at $6.1 million. Erik Karlsson, a $10 million cap hit until 2027. It's tough.
It's crazy that Karlsson deal is already 3 years away from ending.
Time flies, man.
Holy.
Yeah, time flies.
But yeah, speaking of Karlsson deal, all that's likely going to happen for Pittsburgh is they're going to be like, I think it was you who actually said this on one of the recent shows, like they're kind of trending towards like old San Jose Sharks when that core was old. And it's like, it's interesting in terms of like, what are they going to do? What's going to happen? But the actual answer is likely the most boring thing it can be, which is just, I don't know, we're going to sit there and we're going to wait.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be an interesting few years. I mean, it could be bad. It could be bad for a while.
It's not looking good.
AJ, I think I heard you were about to
Yeah,
say something, and we
I-
cut you off. Go nuts.
So I wanted to go back to what you guys were talking about originally with what is Crosby going to do in all of this. I think he's going to stay, honestly. He's been there his entire career. His boys, and like Letang, as you said, is locked up till 28. Malkin's locked up till, 26? I think he'd be hard-pressed to abandon the guys that he won with, right? And now it's
absolutely.
time to...
I don't think he leaves.
It's time to shepherd the next generation in. There's not like they don't have a generational player. Like, you're not handing off the baton from Lemieux to Crosby right now. Like, that's not going to happen. But it's now time for him to shepherd the flock and be the leader
of the Montreal Canadiens.
No, no. Why would he go to a non-playoff team?
Because he's already on one, and they're going to be worse. I don't know. I'm just. But
he had Montreal pajamas.
Did he? I don't know. Oh, okay.
Probably.
You're just wishful thinking, just like maybe.
I mean, I do believe he is a Habs fan.
Oh, okay. I mean, there are a lot of Habs fans out in the Maritimes.
He was.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Let me cope.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of Habs fans and Bruins fans out there. I think I could be
Some
wrong.
Leafs
Bruins
as well.
fans for Bergeron and Marchand only.
What?
Where are all the Bruins fans from out there?
I don't know. I just mean
Marchand.
like Eastern Seaboard. I don't know. Maybe people out there want to be different. They cheer for an American team, but I think there are some Bruins fans out there.
Just gotta cut those islands off.
Yeah, they already are cut off. They're islands.
Touche. You win this round.
I guess you could cut the Confederation Bridge. You could just blow that one up. Give it the old Kirch Bridge treatment.
No blow up, just a very clean cut.
Like
just
a
a very big pair of scissors. I was thinking a sword.
Yeah, like those ceremonial mall openings where they get the scissors and cut the thing, but we do it to a bridge.
Ceremonial like island seclusioning.
Yeah, and just cut off. We just cut off Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. Got it. Okay.
Sorry to the people, but like if you're a Bruins fan out there,
Hey,
you did this to everyone.
We live in an era where we need infrastructure spending. That's a decent way to spend some infrastructure money.
Mm-hmm.
Just cut a bridge in half.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Where they
but yeah, I mean,
though, like that's what I.
Yeah,
wanna
like
know.
that's the big question: is where do they go from here?
Down.
I mean,
And they just stay down. I feel like
I think it's hard to disagree with that. Like, especially when you've got $16 million on defense tied up in two guys that are at least 33 years old. Even if Chris Letang retires, that cap hit will still be on the team. Crosby's 36, Malkin's 37, even Brian Rust is 30, Ricard Raquel is 30.
Raquel is 30 years
Raquel's
old
30.
now.
Riley Smith is on the team until next season at 32. Who knows who's left on the team either next year?
How many contract
get the
years
sense
does
that-
Raquel have left?
One at a time. Who? What?
How many contract years does Raquel have left?
4 after this one. So Raquel is signed at $5 million until 2028.
Could be an off-season flip for a pretty decent return. I like Raquel.
Yeah, I mean that's a big commitment, right?
Yeah,
Riley
but
Smith
you know,
is probably
NHL teams will commit to worse.
Yeah.
'Cause
Riley Smith, what?
he's
Yeah.
probably moving because apparently he hasn't embraced being a Penguin. Whatever
Well,
that means.
I mean, why would you at this point?
Yeah.
You know, it's a tough one now. Like that's a tough place to play. Like they have a bunch of guys that are on the wrong side of 30. It's gonna. I don't know. I mean, where do you go from here? I mean, I don't think. Like, do they have a bunch of draft picks yet? Not really. They don't have a first round. They will have a first round pick, but they won't next year. It looks like. So the Penguins have a 2024 pick that's top 10 protected, which who knows if that'll be the case this year. And if they do move it to 2025, it's unprotected. So that's also a little bit of a wrinkle for this sort of rebuild for them, is that they might not finish in the top 10 in the draft this year, and then they might have to give up that pick, which may work out in their favor. But I don't know, like it's going to be interesting.
That's a very bad set of situations. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think with the good thing is, and I feel like AG would agree with me on this, I think we can agree that having Kyle Dubas driving the ship isn't the worst situation, considering a lot of this came down the pipe from Ron Hextall and his regime beforehand that didn't particularly go well. So you've got a smart-ish at least guy. No, he's a smart. He's a smart guy. You got a smart guy sort of leading the ship into the future, and so like this. And we've said this from day one. I mean, I remember talking about this with AJ in the summer. It's like he took just about the hardest job in hockey, like taking over this version of the Pittsburgh Penguins and sort of guiding them over the next little while. It is not the Toronto Maple Leafs of 2015 or whatever it was when he got hired, 2016.
17, I think.
Yeah, they're not the same team. It's not the same situation. And even if you wanted to deconstruct this team, like you asked where you go from here, I mean, I guess, yeah, like maybe you find a buyer. You'll probably get someone to take on Riley Smith. Ricard Raquel has 4 more years left, but the cap hit is manageable. He just also has a modified no trade clause, so that also is a stick.
I don't know that they go in full blow it up mode. You know what I mean? I think they're gonna try and add again next year and do what Dubas did, like trying to find value free agents. Like initially when they brought Michael Bunting in, that was a value free agent in Toronto, right? So I think I just don't see them giving up entirely. They've clearly given up on this year as a possibility to go win a cup and even compete for the playoffs. Sure.
Yeah.
But I also think that how can you not still try to at least put a competitive roster around? Because even if you are quote unquote retooling, to me, you should be trying to be competitive. You don't always need to
Gensel then?
Well, because he's on the last year of his deal.
But he would have likely re-signed.
Yeah, it's possible. Maybe he comes back in the offseason, potentially. Like that door is still open. Is it likely? Who knows?
Yeah.
But
it's just
I don't know. I just think that I just can't see this team committing to full blow it up and just sucking. I think they're gonna try and stay in the hunt next year. Maybe it fails and they do a similar thing, but I just don't see them not trying to win.
Right. I mean, I think you said it, right? They're kind of like the Sharks when sort of Marlowe and Thornton and all those guys were kind of getting up there and their contracts were coming to an end over the next couple of years. Like you knew that they probably weren't contenders.
Yeah.
But if you play your cards right, you probably won't be terrible. I don't know. It's going to be I from what I've read and over the weekend, it's like I feel like trading Jake Gensel like had a major impact on that team. Like I think they all just kind of were like, oh, okay, like so this is what you think, right? Yeah. So it's like maybe Kyle Dubas can manage to convince the room that they're gonna try to, like just because they lost Jake Gensel, it doesn't mean the future is, screwed. But it's just like, and I guess, Sidney Crosby's not going anywhere. I cannot imagine he's going to go anywhere. Evgeny Malkin, I can't imagine is going anywhere. Like a bunch of these guys, I feel like won't go anywhere if they don't want to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess you just kind of have to like cross your fingers and hope, and maybe next year doesn't go so poorly. I mean, they did the best move they made all year was picking up Jesse Puljujarvi for 2 years, $800,000. That's going to save them. I don't know why I threw him out there and whatever, but it's just funny to see him back in the NHL. It's kind of crazy.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's fun times. But anyway, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, for the Pittsburgh Penguins, yeah, like you can find value. I just, again, like we said it a couple weeks ago, they're going to be a fascinating team for the next couple of weeks. Those couple of weeks have happened and it's been bad. Now it's going to be fascinating from here in the next month, right? Between now and the end of the year. Like how bad is it going to get? Because if it's really bad, you're really hoping for a major reboot moving forward into next season. So I don't know. It's not great. I watched a bit of the Penguins this weekend and it was tough. It was tough.
It's hockey.
Yeah. I mean, and it's really sad too, because like I grew up with like Sidney Crosby when he was, I remember seeing news reports on him when he was 14. And like now he's had all these accolades and all this amazing stuff happen in his career. And now it's at the point where, you can kind of see the end of the tunnel, and the I don't even know how to describe it. The just mammoth organization the Penguins have been the last 15
Collapsing.
years is starting to sort of fall apart a little.
There's been no point in my coherent hockey life since I was born in 96,
right,
where Crosby wasn't like the thing.
Yeah, you would have been like 9 when he was drafted or something.
Yeah. Sidney Crosby was like the thing.
I don't remember the NHL without Sidney Crosby. I just don't.
Oh man, I do. Oh boy, I remember when Sidney Crosby was like 14 or 15, and they were doing profiles on him on TSN. He was playing against 18-year-olds. He went to Shattuck St. Mary's for a year and just absolutely, or a couple of years maybe, and just torched it. He played with Zach Parise, and they just absolutely ripped it.
I think his rookie year was the first year I actually started watching hockey as a kid, because I would have been like 5 or 6 years old.
Right. So you don't remember ties. I remember ties.
No, I do not actually. I have no memory of ties.
Sam is looking at me like he doesn't know what a tie is. Like okay. 2 teams play and they get to the end of regulation.
I'm sitting here being like, what about tie domi? And then you said the second part about the ties, looking at you like don't know what tie is. I'm like, what goes around your neck?
Yeah,
okay.
No,
so
they used to wear neckties in the NHL on the ice.
Yeah, that's
all
crazy.
the players used to wear neckties.
I also heard they had tuxedos on underneath the outfit.
That's way back. Yeah, that's back in like wild. The 40s. Yeah. But anyway, but yes, we can move on. As our producer is yelling in our ear.
Hey, you're not supposed to say what I say off camera.
Well, I am. Just this once. Let's move on. We're going to cross the Pennsylvania countryside. I actually think these cities are actually very close geographically, but going to Philadelphia,
they're very close.
Yeah, they're very close. There's not much countryside between those 2 cities. But anyway, all the Pennsylvania listeners are screaming at me right now.
I think it's a couple hours, like 4 to 5, maybe.
Right. I honestly don't know. I have never set foot in Pennsylvania. AJ, you did recently.
Yeah, I was in Pittsburgh as early as this year.
Yeah. Wow.
Or sorry, as late as this year.
But yeah, John Tortorella, man, he had another Tortorella moment.
Interesting,
classic Tortorella moment. So the Flyers were getting killed by Tampa. It was 3-0. I think it was 10 minutes into the first period. They were getting it was very quick. They had some bad goaltending. They took some silly penalties. They had worse goaltending on the penalty kill, and it just was not their day. They ended up losing the game 7-0. I think just from having gone back and watched this sort of chain of events, I mean, the first thing was losing that bad that fast. Probably doesn't make the coach feel very good.
No.
And then Garnet Hathaway getting a 10-minute misconduct for shoving Anthony Cirelli after the whistle. Probably also, maybe he felt that maybe wasn't a penalty or shouldn't have been a 10-minute misconduct. I mean, he's gone to bat for Hathaway a bunch of times this year already.
Yep.
So maybe he just kind of was a little bit more salty of like, rubbing salt in the wound. You're throwing out my tough guy who, for another 10 minutes. And then there was a weird tripping call. I think it was a legitimate tripping call, having watched it over again, on Ronnie Attard, our buddy Ronnie Attard from the Tri-City Storm, trying to stop a breakaway from, I think it was Michael Esiamat, which led to the goal, or the penalty kill from that penalty led to the 4-0 goal 11 minutes into the game.
Oh.
Ooh, bad times. Bad times all around on this episode. But Tortorella refused to leave the bench. And in doing so, I also read his lips for quite a while today. I was slowing it down and trying to read. Nice. A lot of bad words.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Yeah, a lot of bad words. Really concentrated too, to the point where I'm going, you know what? If I'm a referee, I'd probably throw you out of the game and like want to fine you quite a bit. So he got suspended 2 games and fined $50,000 for unprofessional conduct.
Philadelphia GM, I believe, said that he would be paying any fine Tortorella gets.
Was it the GM or was it the owner?
The owner.
Was it the owner?
It was the owner. Yeah. So the owner said he would pay it.
Because you would have remembered if Danny Briere said he'd personally have
Danny
paid
Briere didn't say it.
that amount.
That is true.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean,
that is true.
So I guess, we all saw what happened. Suspended 2 games. The Flyers are in the playoff hunt, and that 2 games doesn't sound like a ton, but there's only 20 games left in the year.
That's 4 potential points.
That's 4 points.
I think it might even be less, honestly.
Yeah, like it might even be less. Maybe 18 games. I don't know. I don't have the standings in front of me.
Yeah, they've. I think it's 17
every game
for them.
Yeah, every game from here on out counts. Especially after they sort of sold at the deadline. They got rid of Sean Walker,
which was weird.
Well, I get it. Like
they tried to extend
they got a
him.
first round pick for him. Yeah, they tried to extend him
at the price he wanted. They know they're not really that legit in terms of being able to really contend.
Yeah, that
I was fine with
it's
it,
just
right?
again, it's like
Yep, it makes sense. To
big
me,
big picture for them, right? Because I think they're going to be good going forward. It's just, it's fine to sell off a little bit, especially if you're not confident you can keep a Sean Walker, because they weren't able, like, they took a run at it. They were able to sign Sealer, so they let one guy go at the end.
Right. And I mean, look, they got a first round pick for him, which not so bad, right? Yeah. Like that's not so bad. But yeah, I mean, okay, so but they are still in a playoff spot. I mean, a 7-0 loss to Tampa doesn't help.
No.
But losing 2 games of John Tortorella, I mean, it depends on how much you think a coach matters to the performance of a team. But
I think they could rally for 2 games pretty easily behind the coach who got ejected on their behalf. I don't think it's going to end up actually costing them 4 points. And it's not something if they, struggle to make the playoffs or something, you're not going to look back and be like, that suspension is the reason.
Yeah.
Unless these 2 games go horrendous and they clean up after.
I also will say, I don't think, AJ, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You seem to know more about this stuff than me, but I don't think a $50,000 fine for stuff like this is very common.
No,
I don't think.
Doesn't feel
usually
like
it's less, and honestly, I don't blame them.
I think it's usually 25.
Yeah,
I
like he was being.
I think it's because it's 2 games that they're.
He was saying some stuff.
He was being unbelievably stubborn and unbelievably like. It was so like petty in a way, and I loved it. I thought it was crazy.
It was very entertaining.
It was very entertaining.
So just for context, Will,
yes,
because you mentioned it, the next 2 games, at least from what I'm seeing here for Philly, are at home versus San Jose, I think.
Okay.
And then they play Toronto.
At home or in Toronto?
At home.
Oh, that's 4 points right there.
Yeah, 4 points. Easy, 4 points.
Should be.
Oh, of course.
Eric Johnson's going to score a hat trick against the Leafs, as we know.
Should be 2, I think, but we'll see.
Yeah, it should be 2. Like San Jose.
You gotta beat San Jose. You
gotta beat San Jose. Especially San Jose got rid of Kaapo Kähkönen at the deadline and added, I believe, Vanacek has been New Jersey's worst goaltender this year, I think. Or is it Nico Dawes? It might be Nico Dawes. Either way, it doesn't matter. They're all not great.
That's just funny. They have Blackwood Vanacek in San Jose, so they've just they just have the old New Jersey goalies.
Yeah, which is hilarious. So
the first time.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, so they got to beat San Jose. So whatever. I guess it doesn't really matter that much, but it is really close. Like for them to hang on to a playoff spot. I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Reading what he was saying to the referees. He even was like targeting Wes McCauley specifically. Like I remember a couple of other referees were skating over to talk to him, and he's like, no. I want to talk to him. And he was like pointing at him, and he's like, no, I want him over here, like right now. And they're like, no, just get off the ice. Like, what are you doing? He's like, no, I want to. It was great, just back and forth.
Like I genuinely cannot believe how much comedic value he provided.
Oh man, that guy is just such a guy. Like I don't even know how to describe it. He is such a legendary. Like
for a very interesting mix of reasons. Yeah, he is.
The funny thing too, for me, the 2004 Tampa Bay Lightning team were in the building. They were getting honored, and I sort of sat back and I went, man, a lot of those guys look older than John Tortorella does. Like the guys who he's ageless.
Yeah, they said he was 65, I believe.
Does not look 65 whatsoever.
I was like, really?
You know what? Maybe there is something to rage making you look young. Like continued rage over and over and over again.
It must be how well one cycles it. Like, do you consistently get like emotionally exhausted? Torts does not strike me as the guy to get emotionally exhausted after screaming at somebody. He screams at somebody and then it's just like, where's lunch? It seems like he never thinks about it.
He grew up in an Italian family. Yeah. So he's built it up. It's how my family operates too. We scream at each other. It's awesome.
A mental muscle. Yeah, it's a mental muscle.
You know how loud our household is when all of us are over together? It's insane.
Oh, jeez. Mine's the opposite. I'm a boring, old, waspy, white Canadian family with no ethnic background outside of Irish.
So we just sit around. We would call you.
Yeah, exactly. We sit around and talk about jazz music and Stocks. Yeah. Honestly, I talked to my dad about finance way too much. And like what dividend reinvestment programs are and stuff.
Talk to me about that.
All right. Yeah, we can do a finance section. Let's do it. Let's take a look at Sam McGilligan's finances.
Why?
Well, I just had to spend $500 fixing a fuel door.
Yeah. But no, I mean, John Tortorella does have that. Maybe there is something there, you know? Like rage is a muscle. You can't overwork it, just like any other muscle. But maybe it helps keep you young, you know? Just a little
He's got
bit.
lactic acid in his brain.
Exactly. Yeah, now we're talking. No, but all jokes aside, I just thought that was I thought that was nuts. It was a lot of fun. I don't think it really affects the Flyers long term. I think if anything, it might rally them.
I think the Leafs will be an easy rollover win for them, and everything goes well.
I can hear AJ boiling,
just like they were for your team on Saturday, huh, Sam? Easy rollover, brutal. Even though they did kind of roll
that
over
hurts
and still
me?
won.
That does not wound me. Yeah, actually, all I saw of that game was I got up to walk to the kitchen because I was in the middle of doing something, and then when I walked out, I heard the game starting, and I grabbed whatever I was grabbing, and I walked back in, and there was a goal scored. And I went, that's interesting.
Yep.
And then I went in my room, and then I checked the score later, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's
bad time.
Unfortunate.
And also, just before we move on, the Flyers, as a reminder, they are currently 5 points up on a playoff spot. Excuse me while I reject a spam call. They're 5 points up on a playoff spot. And
who's making up ground on them? Because they were
the Islanders.
They're 4-5. They're 4-5-1 in their last 10. The Islanders are 7-2-1. So are the Capitals. And the Predators have gotten past them lately. The Predators have been absolutely on
the Predators
fire.
are in a different conference.
Right, they're in a but I mean, like, for the wild potentially Philadelphia could be competing for a wild card.
But not in Nashville.
Well, no, because Nashville is pretty much sealed that wild card, like, right?
No, because it's
wrong,
dude. It's conference. Wrong conference.
Yes.
Okay, just being too friendly.
Yes. Let's move on from it. The point is, I am not a smart man sometimes. I don't know.
I cannot wait for that first round matchup between Calgary and Montreal. Actually,
what would you not give to see a first round NHL playoff matchup between Calgary and Montreal?
Nothing.
Maybe not these initial versions. Maybe not these versions of those two teams.
It would be sick though.
But I don't know. I guess more
I'll
variety.
be honest, I liked the Canadian division when it happened. Everybody was making fun of it.
That is true.
I hated it so much.
I thought it was so sick.
No, it was
because you lost in the first round again.
Doesn't matter. My team won that division. Like they went through it.
What did it get them?
You know what it got them? Nothing. It was the champions of the North shirt. That's it. That's what they got for all of a couple of weeks before.
Honestly, I feel like it's very undeserving that you guys got the champions of the North shirt, considering we were the champions of the North
in the playoffs. We're talking about the standings, right?
Yeah.
There was only one chance to have that shirt. It belonged to us. That's a shame.
Either way, man, it didn't matter. Like it sucks because that was probably, honestly, that might have been the best Leafs team, which is crazy, and they choked so hard. But it doesn't help when Jake Muzzin and John Tavares got like.
I love it when he just gives me all this fuel to just torture him forever. Hey, remember when the best Leafs team lost 3-1?
I give everybody fuel to torture me forever. I'm used to it, man. That's what happens when you grow up the way I grew up in an Italian family. That's why Torts isn't exhausted.
It hardens you.
Yeah, it's because he's used to getting. I mean, the term is ball busted in our family. Like when people like screw with you.
I was gonna say in our culture.
No. But that's what we call it. Or busting your chops. Like that's what we call it. But still,
I saw Goodfellas. I know. I've seen that. I've seen that movie.
What type of funny am I?
Yeah. How funny? How? Anyway, oh boy, this has been a fun episode so far, eh? I'm sure producer AJ loves it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I want to be here.
On the docket?
What, you want to be here?
Yeah, because I can't say the thing I wanted to say without getting demonetized.
Okay. So he's got something loaded up for you.
Write it down in a notepad and say it to me after.
Yeah, that'll be on the Scouching After Dark episode.
Absolutely.
For subscribers.
What?
Yeah, we could do
Not
that.
the worst idea.
Yeah.
10 minutes of
Uncensored.
brutality.
Uncensored
Before we
and
move on,
brutal
though,
insults.
I just want to talk a little bit about how Wes McCauley is always at the center of these ref controversies.
Yeah, I'm curious about your thoughts on this because you mentioned this today and I wasn't exactly sure what you were talking about. So take it away. I'm curious.
Well, it's like, how many times is Wes McCauley at the end of like a controversy? Like, you've heard about the story where Keefe testified against, like Sheldon Keefe testified against, I believe it was his uncle or somebody. Like, there's somebody in his family where Sheldon Keefe like testified against them, or it might have been his father-in-law, like Wes McCauley's father-in-law. It's somebody who's I gotta find it exactly, but it feels like there's so many conflicts of interest with Wes McCauley and teams that it's kind of crazy.
But he's the guy who said fighting in the fun way.
But
so
it doesn't
everyone
matter
loves him,
if
right?
he's not if there's issues like this all the time. What Elliot said on 32 Thoughts, and that being Elliot Friedman, is that Torts originally got like into it with like a younger official, and I think it was like standing up for your teammate, why you got thrown out, like why Wes McCauley picked on John Tortorella in that instance and actually took him out of the game potentially, which kind of makes sense. But he also raised a good point, that being Elliot, about I really wish that refs were held accountable after the games to the media so they could answer for why they did what they did. Because if that happened, I really think that we'd respect the officials a lot more if they just come out and say, yeah, it was a miscall, or this is why we did this, right? Like if that were to happen, I don't think there'd be so much like discourse about, oh, Wes McCauley's reffing my game. Because dude, I'm telling you, when he reffed the Leafs games in the playoffs, I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose because he's reffing this game. Like that entered my mind a lot of the time.
Typical Leaf fan.
It's
blaming it on the
refs.
refs.
Hey. It's
Blame
only
it on the refs.
only Wes McCauley that I feel that way about, okay? Only Wes McCauley.
AJ's got a hate shrine in his garage.
I don't know much about that, but I will say, and I won't
He's entertaining. He is
over focus on it, but the Raptors do have a ref who is like legitimately out for blood every time we play. Is it Tony Brothers? I don't think it's Brothers.
You could say any name and I would believe you.
Brothers is an awful referee. I'm just trying to remember if he's the one, but regardless, Darko went off on him this year. Van Vliet went off on a press conference. Like they're going and naming him in press conferences, just saying he sucks.
But in the NBA, they do this. They do what AJ is asking, right? Where you can ask questions, or no, they file a report.
They file reports,
game.
but the reports are basically whatever the refs just go out and write the report, and it's whatever they like. Very rarely does it change, and it's not what AJ's saying.
I found it. So Wes McCauley, conflict of interest with Leafs head coach Sheldon Keefe. Before McCauley and Keefe were anywhere near the NHL, the two were aware of one another and were opposite ends. I'm reading an article, but Dave Frost, the brother-in-law of McCauley, was a former junior coach turned player agent.
Oh, he's his brother-in-law?
However, he was accused of sexually assaulting a number of underage hockey players, including somebody who I'll just leave nameless. That person is a lifelong friend of Sheldon Keefe, who testified against Frost. Yeah, so like there was a whole...
That's depressing.
That's bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not a great thing. I mean...
Yeah, so his friend testified against Wes McCauley's brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So...
And in the world of hockey, that seems like something that could, hang around.
Yeah.
Even though it might have been the right thing to do, probably was exactly the right thing to do for Sheldon Keefe, but welcome to the world of hockey.
And yet they let Wes officiate Game 6 and 7 of 2022, baby, and we lost those games.
Hey, man.
You lost those games.
I am leaning into it for the meme, okay?
Yes, of course.
It's obviously not on Wes McCauley that the Leafs didn't win rounds.
No, it's 100% his fault.
No, it isn't.
It's a conspiracy.
I'm leaning into it because I think it's funny to lean into it and a bit depressing.
And it's also really funny because there are people who probably believe it, right?
But that's why I'm leaning into it.
Yeah,
right?
like AJ.
Exactly. Yeah, it's great.
I do not believe it. Come on, Sam. Come off of it. Don't give me that bad of a name.
Yeah.
Even though we call you an idiot every chance we get.
Almost. But
Almost.
I mean, I agree. I think it would be like, we live in a world where I think a lot of people are asking for a little more accountability out of, things that aren't the best. And I don't know. I feel like this year everybody says the same thing, but that the refereeing in the NHL has been questionable, at least literally.
It's not any different than it's been.
Yeah,
the last
I feel like
few
it's
years,
not
and
any
it
different.
just hit a low point, and people are like,
I felt like it was good at the beginning of the year, right?
It's the same.
Yeah, like I was even talking to you about it, that I thought the officiating early on in the year was the best it had ever been, and now it slipped. It slipped a bit.
Well, that's also something that kind of happens, right? Like, I feel like it's I don't know. It's like any sort of, I worked in the corporate world for quite a few years, and I feel like this kind of thing happens a lot, where there are often new initiatives that are meant to jumpstart some sort of thing, and maybe for a couple of weeks it chugs along pretty well, and then everybody kind of just goes, this isn't really making that much of a difference or anything, and I just kind of want to do what I was doing. And then they just end up going back to what they were doing.
It made so much of a difference this year. Like, I honestly felt that going into January, it was in a good spot, and it's only been recently that's kind of collapsed.
I can't really, I don't know. I think there is some sort of psychological mechanism around, like, let's try a new thing. And they do, but then a couple of weeks into it, they're like, kind of either actively or passively just kind of go back to the way things always have been. Cause I don't know. I don't understand. And you look like you have heard.
Did I just what did I hear?
That was the cat.
That was a cat.
Oh.
Yeah. The cat, yeah, that guy.
Now it's super obvious. It was cat.
Yeah, he screams.
I was like
often.
in the middle of a thought or something when it happened first. I was like, is your pipe
I hope not.
bursting?
I hope not. That was a bad time the first time that happened. My basement flooded, but that was a bad time. It's also almost his dinner time, so he's a little bit moody, I think. But in any case, this all started with John Tortorella, and it was a ton of fun. And yeah, I think that it also, it would have been nice to see at least some sort of representative channel Wes McCauley and his responses to these questions.
Or if he just got in front of the mic himself after the game and just said,
of course, that would be ideal.
That would be ideal. I bet you he would, but I think it's the league that's actively suppressing that at some level.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I don't know. Also, on the other hand, too, like, if there's some sort of personal thing that's an issue here, then that's different. But I don't know. As the older I get, I kind of don't really care that much about complaining about officiating. Like, it's like, that's the whole point, kind of, is like, they're human beings and they have two eyeballs. And if you really think about it, your field of view with your two eyeballs is very small.
Yeah.
Like, you get a wide thing, but the amount you can focus on and your brain can interpret all at once is pretty limited. So errors and stuff is going to happen. And when you say the things that John Tortorella was saying to the referees,
you look like a dude who has lactic acid in his brain,
which we all enjoy, clearly. Yeah. So anyway, all good times. And an interesting highlight on refereeing in hockey. So the trade deadline was Friday. Once again, thank you very much to everybody who tuned into the special. There was a lot of you. It was quite a bit to stay on top of, but we did it. Thanks to the producer of the show for helping out, of course,
thanks,
as always.
Job.
Job. So there were quite a few things that happened on trade deadline day. A few of the players moved. A few of the major players that have moved have played for their new teams in the time since. And a few of them are off to pretty good starts. I believe Noah Hannafin is a point a game going into tonight's game. I think Vegas is playing. Tarasenko, I think, blew up for 3 points in his first game with the Panthers.
I will always root for Tarasenko's success.
It's true. Evgeny Kuznetsov has been playing with Carolina. I don't think he's gotten any points, but I did watch Carolina this weekend against, was it the Ducks that they played against? It was an afternoon game, and I was kind of in and out of it. But they absolutely stomped whoever it was, and Kuznetsov looked pretty good there.
It was the Flames. I think it was.
Was it? Oh, yes, it was. Yes, it was, because I lamented Nazem Kadri on that team because the Flames don't look great. Right. Yeah, the Flames don't look great, but Nazem Kadri, he's it, man. He's him. I love him. Yeah, he rocks. I was curious because this does lead me into the thought. The question I would like to ask the room, not who is the best player that was moved, but what was the trade of the day of all the moves that were made? What one did you enjoy the most? Or
Middlestat Byram.
Middlestat Byram is a very good answer.
That's the one, especially when you watch Buffalo right away and you just see like Byram kind of fitting in really well there. Like I think we talked about this privately where we're like, that's interesting having Power, Dahlin, and Byram on 3 different pairings.
Yeah.
All with kind of the same approach to having the same strengths anyways. Like I wouldn't say the same strengths, but they all can kind of be filed on the same thing. And not so much Dahlin, but Power and Byram carrying varying versions of similar weaknesses.
I think that's also true. I mean, of all those 3 guys, if I had to pick one to play on the offside, probably would be like a Byram, maybe, or a Dahlin. I don't know about Power.
I make sure Dahlin's as comfortable as possible. I was just gonna say, like, I let Dahlin be as comfortable as possible, and then figure it out with Byram and Power and Johnson and the rest. But that's a lot of left shot defensemen.
Yeah, they do have a lot of lefts.
But I still don't entirely blame them for the move because Byram's kind of sick. But Middlestat was an interesting price to pay. Colorado might get some really good play out of that guy.
Well, that's the thing that confused me a little bit. Like Casey, and I still feel this way. I felt this way the minute I heard about the trade, but now it still sits in my head. It's like I feel like Middlestat is a lot more of what Colorado needs than what Byram is to what Buffalo needs.
Yeah.
Like I like Bowen Byram, and I think at their peak, I feel like you're going to get more out of Byram in terms of like two-way and sort of offense.
But you already drafted 2 defensemen first overall.
But yes, you have done that as well. And but for Colorado, like out goes Ryan Johansson, and in comes Casey Middlestat.
Yep.
Like
and out goes Bowen Byram, and in comes Sean Walker, right?
Yeah, and you haven't lost anything on your defense group, and you're giving up for all of that. You're not giving up really that much in terms of making your team look a whole lot different. So that's a great answer. That
was definitely my pick.
Yeah, that's
when
definitely,
that trade went through, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
That's a fun one.
I miss trades like that too. Like I don't know how many used to happen, but teams that just kind of go like, we got this young guy, and let's just we have a need on the team. Let's just figure this out and do some sort of hockey move. Like there's been 2 this year now. One was obviously instigated by Cutter Gauthier being like, I'm not going to play for you.
Yeah, that was a little different, weird one, but
a little different circumstances.
This one's more of a pure hockey trade.
Right.
The type of one you do in like be a GM mode or something like that, where you just look at it and go, hey, yeah.
AJ, do you have an answer? What are you thinking?
I liked a lot of the trades, but I think that one's probably up there too. It's just, I don't know. I don't really have a favorite trade, because usually what happens is I either have like a super favorite trade where the Leafs go out and add somebody good, but that never happens. So I usually have a least favorite trade where I'm mad that they added somebody I'm not happy about. But I think if we want to say like what's the best value deal, obviously Tarasenko forced his way into Florida, but that one's pretty awesome. But I also think the Kuznets, you know what? I will say the Kuznetsov one, because Carolina just decided to, like, they realized, okay, if we buy him out next year, it's only going to cost $1 million for 2 years. So he's got a chance here. Like, if you can get him to play at the level he was playing beforehand, then oh man, like that's going to be huge. Like that trade alone could be just as big as an impact for Carolina as the Gensel move when he comes back, right?
Yeah.
Like Kuznetsov basically willed that Washington Capitals team to a Stanley Cup win. Like that's kind of what happened. Like he took over. He probably was the best player in that series and probably deserved a Conn Smythe. And now Carolina has that guy. There have been some times, especially more recently, where it looked like he just doesn't care at all when he's on the ice. But I think he knows this is his last chance, and what I've seen of him, he's looked good in Carolina. He doesn't have any points, as you said, but he looks good. So
he's
I'm
looked
excited.
good the game when I've seen him. Yeah,
I'm excited to see what he can do.
I don't mean to interject, but was that Stanley Cup 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, to try and salvage a transition out of that revelation,
Making us feel
let's talk
old.
about the Vegas trade, since that's who Washington beat in those Cup finals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 6 years.
Don't
Yep,
you,
it's
don't
been
you
a
remember
while.
the Vegas owner, Cup in 6, and they went to the final in their first?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
but they did win a Cup in their 6th year. So
When you know, you know. I don't know. Maybe he drank the water of life, and he's now the Lisan Al Gaib. He has the knowledge of the future. But
That's
anyway,
incredible. 6 years.
6 years.
What has happened?
Oh, it
to
only
my
gets worse from
brain?
here. Trust me. Being 6 years older than you, it gets worse. Especially with a pandemic ruining like 3 years of your life. But I mean, I would agree. I think the Kuznetsov thing. The thing about Kuznetsov I wanted to mention too is just like I'm also a big vibes person, and it just feels from seeing the social media that the Carolina Hurricanes put out regarding Kuznetsov and involving him with the team.
somebody
just seems like he's such
much
an-
Survivor recently, is what that means. You've been hearing all the
Oh,
people
man.
saying vibes on that show.
Do we do a Survivor segment or what? Because holy smokes, this season is out of control. I don't know.
I can't contribute to it.
Holy
But
crap,
that's why you're
Sam.
saying vibes. But continue on your thought
Yes.
about Kuznetsov.
But anyway, like the feeling around the Carolina Hurricanes is very specific to Carolina. I feel like they seem to be very goofy and like
Must
laid
be a
back
fun
and
team to
yeah,
root
they're
for.
just they're like the Pirates of the National Hockey League, and I feel like Kuznetsov kind of fits in with that. And I feel like Kuznetsov might be one of those guys who maybe when he sees the writing on the wall that the Capitals aren't a contender, he just kind of goes, "Why would I try?" Which maybe not be the best decision, but because he did look not great this year.
Yeah, and
Or for multiple
that's not
years.
the case.
Right, but I mean this year especially was troubling.
Well, glad he's reinvigorated.
Well, hopefully, yeah. It's been a couple of good games. We'll see how it goes. I was going to throw Tarasenko out there just because it's something a little different for Florida, just like pure raw offense that, I mean, when you look up and down that roster, they're really, really scary now. I know AJ, they're still your team for the Stanley Cup, I'm assuming, right?
With Florida, yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so because you've got Tarasenko and Reinhart, Verhaeghe and Kachuk, Evan Rodriguez on your third
Dude,
line.
you didn't even mention Barkov.
Yeah, well, I'm going wingers, right? Like,
okay.
yeah, you've got a really good trio of wingers in Barkov, Bennett, and Lindell. I'm a big Ryan Lomberg fan. Like Nick Cousins is listed on their fourth line. Like they're just loaded top to bottom. Even Oliver Ekman-Larsson is playing well with them this year,
Yep.
from what I've seen of the
Yeah, he has
Panthers.
That's
been.
always fun. I always liked OEL. So did a lot of people, right?
Yeah, yeah, but he just had a lull in his career, and he seems to be reinvigorated. Like this is the thing that I just thought of. I would be fascinated to see some group of coaches or something, or some journalist or whatever, put together like a book of these players who are written off and then they come back and are maybe not like outstanding, but they stick around in the NHL for a really, really long time. Right.
Yeah.
Like Oliver Ekman-Larsson for a while there, people thought like, oh God, like what's wrong with this guy? Like, and now he's on a contending team and a part of it. He's
and
not
looks
just
good.
yeah,
He's
looks
got
good.
a good role within that team.
Yeah, like there's been like JT Miller was a guy who was, I mean, people were calling for, he almost got traded out of Vancouver last year from what I remember.
Yeah.
And now he's like one of the best players in the league this season.
Yep.
And he bounced around a lot too. It's like
Yeah.
he was on that what is it? The President's Trophy winning Tampa Bay Lightning that got swept by Columbus. Like
yeah, he used to be on Tampa.
yeah,
like
he was a Ranger
crazy.
too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Like I think he was
Yep.
drafted to the New York Rangers. Like he's bounced
Yep.
around quite a bit. And
So yeah,
looked like he
No.
was on like a huge upward swing in Vancouver and then had a really rough season last year, but is back to being like you tweeted it earlier this season. You went, JT Miller is literally a boss or something like that. Or
well,
is
he
an
just
effing
had one.
boss.
There was a shift that he had where he just like for a minute straight just was dummying
God
everyone, just god level hockey. It was ridiculous, but I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of interesting stories out there from players who, you know, I'm always really interested in the psychological aspect of being an athlete. Like, because I mean, look at me, I'm not a tremendous athlete myself, but like at this level of play, like so much of it must be mental. And just from like a learning perspective, I'd be curious how maybe coaches or management or whoever
Can influence.
can
that,
communicate
yeah.
and influence and try to get these guys to sort of, you know, my hypothesis is you have a good idea of what a player is, and you go, okay, here's what we need on our team. Here's what you can provide for that need. Go out and execute, and you're going to be fine.
Yep.
Just that's your focus. Don't try to be the hero. Don't try to do everything yourself, and just this is it. Like we talk about it with young players all the time, with like prospects and everything. It's like we both like players where you can watch them and go, I can see what you could do. Like I can see the role or roles in the NHL that you could play in, right? Like assuming things go right for you.
Yep.
So that's just something that I've thought about and would be fascinated to learn. Because like Luke Shen, for example, he's a multi-million-dollar player now, but for a while there, he was just a guy.
He was a guy who was
changed?
like listed. He was almost like the default example of a guy.
Right. So anyway, and there's a lot of them, right? Like guys just go to a team and then boom, they figure it out and something happens. But in any case, was there anything else from the deadline that stuck out as what?
Hertl.
Oh yeah, that move
So
was
Tomas
pretty
Hertl.
crazy.
Yeah, so
Just doesn't play yet.
the story of Bob McKenzie coming back to TSN out of nowhere, really. He's retired. And the only real thing he contributed was dropping the Tomas Hertl trade on the world. And then he was like, I'm out. Bye-bye. Boss move. One of my favorite hockey personalities of my entire life, Bob McKenzie, does it again. Huge trade. It wasn't really that huge. It was huge in terms of magnitude. Size, not so much. I think a lot of Sharks fans were hoping for more.
Yeah.
Which
it seems like the collective hockey world is like melted down as soon as they saw that deal.
Yeah. Not great.
And when I saw the 3rd round picks and was just like, oh man, that is brutal.
We gotta revisit the fact that Darren Dreger tweeted out the trade and put the word hours in brackets next to a draft pick. So he clearly just copy pasted a text or an email he got from someone from Vegas, or was it Vegas or San Jose?
Well, you gotta break it. You gotta be the one to break it.
I know
right?
I know, but it's just like, oh, okay, so
like
he got his information from someone high up in X organization because he didn't editorialize the information, and the way it was formatted made no sense. Like it made it look. People were like, wait a minute, they gave up 2 third round picks with Tomas Hertl, and all they got was a late 1st round pick and another guy who they drafted in the late 1st round. Like, okay. But anyway, I just liked that. It was one of my hockey Hall of Fame
Absolutely,
tweets.
it's genuinely hilarious.
But yeah, so if you don't remember, it was David Edstrom and a 2025 1st round pick.
I believe so.
For Tomas Hertl. And 2 3rd round picks,
which is 2 3rd round picks added.
Yeah,
2 late firsts and for 2 thirds, and you just get a Tomas Hertl thrown in there.
And the San Jose Sharks now have all of their salary retention spots taken up. And moving forward, only one is expiring before 2027.
Nice.
So Brent Burns is retained against their salary cap until 2025. And then Tomas Hertl is there until 2029, and Erik Karlsson is there until 2027, totaling $5.6 million next year, and then $2.8 million, and then 1.37.
Sam, you're gonna blow in some people's ears with that blow.
You don't blow into the microphone.
Wasn't supposed to.
Unreal. Anywho, I don't know. The way I see it from Sharks fans, and I imagine there's already questions in the chat about it.
There are.
Yeah, you're trading a 30-year-old player. Granted, he's probably the best player on the Sharks.
Yes.
Right? I don't think that's a dispute.
Absolutely, he was.
Right? Like Logan Couture, maybe, but he's been hurt forever.
Still think Hertl's better.
Yeah, I would agree. So you're trading your best player, but he's 30 and he's signed at a pretty sizable hit. Like it's not nothing. It's like $8 million pretty much.
Yeah.
It's not nothing.
No.
Until almost the next decade. Like he's going to be a Golden Knight on paper until he's 37, 36, 37 years old.
Yeah.
That's you're asking Vegas to do a lot, right?
You are.
Even though Hertl is a very good player.
You're asking Vegas to stash him until the playoffs.
So, yes. Right. So to get what is essentially a 1st round pick, and I would say another 1st round pick, essentially, like 2 1st round picks, basically, for that. One is just a player that went in the 1st round.
Yep.
I don't know what else you could expect. And also, Sam, you could probably agree with me on this, but David Edstrom is such a Mike Greer San Jose Sharks draft pick guy, right?
He's such a, I was telling you this before the stream, he's such a San Jose draft pick guy that when the trade first happened, I was like, how did Vegas get Hertl and Edstrom in the same trade? And I was like, wait, no. San Jose had Beastet. Edstrom was with Vegas. Oh, yeah, that's how that worked.
Right. So I'll be very curious. The Sharks, from a prospect perspective, I'll be very curious how San Jose goes in the next few years, because they do seem to be stockpiling these big, heavy guys with some skill.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that goes.
They seem to love their Swedes.
Yeah, yep.
Starting
like Quentin Musty, famous Swede. And
famous Swede.
But then it's going to be like William
Swede.
It's going to be Will Smith and William Eklund just like hanging around while these big boys play 20 minutes a night, and Casper Haltonen scores 30 goals. I don't know. It's going to be a crazy time for the San Jose Sharks. I know fans are, down and out a little bit here, but I don't know. Maybe Vegas has an awful season next year, and that 2025 first round pick turns out to be a little better. I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad considering what you're giving up in Hertl in terms of his contract, which Vegas has to be very cognizant of.
Yeah, I mean, I think fans tend to overrate returns quite a bit. Like the fans build something up, it goes off on Twitter, it goes off on Reddit. Right. The idea of what it's supposed to cost gets settled, and no one is really sitting there going, is this, what the GMs think? Because like that's gonna determine what the cost is when it's all said and done. It's just what the two general managers think, making the trade think, and what their staff are advising them on. Yeah, and it's like, I'm not surprised that it wasn't this crazy return, but I am still. I looked at it and also went, okay, yeah. I thought there would be something more, not that crazy. It's the third round picks, I think, that really like.
Well, they're third round picks.
I know, right? It's just it's the almost like an optics thing, because I don't disagree with you, but still when I look at it, I'm just like, oof. Yeah,
I guess for me it's like we don't have to talk about Tomas Hertl forever, but like I don't think it's what else do you want, right? Like what else would you have wanted out of Vegas, right? Like more picks?
No, just not having to add those, I think, is
okay. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's a tough thing when you have veteran players with long contracts that are still valuable, but they're still very long contracts.
And they're hurt.
It's yes. Yeah. But I mean, hey, if you're Vegas, I think you're laughing, because draft schmaft, as Cliff Fletcher once famously said in Toronto.
Yep.
And I mean, we can talk about David Edstrom. I think I saw a question pop up about him. But I mean, he's a pretty low upside guy, I would say, but I'd say a pretty decent shot of being a solid NHL player.
Yeah, he's definitely playing.
Yeah, like a solid NHL guy, but not, top of your lineup, right?
No,
like you're not.
It's another guy who will be playing in the league one day, and like not doing so in like a wow, he doesn't really look like he should be here sort of sense. Right. Like he's going to just be a solid, dependable, like third line guy.
Yeah.
That's fine.
On that note, we've reached the halfway point of the show. So before we get to part 2, where we go over your questions, we're going to do 2 things. One, I'm going to run through the list of players that I tracked over the last week, so that if there are any questions about these players, you can fire them off. And also for Sam, so that he can yell at me about whoever the hell you want, I guess, Sure. And then we'll do our ad read, and then we'll move into the chat questions. So again, if you have any questions, fire them into the chat, and we'll get to them as quickly as we can. So, there it is. Okay, so this past week, I took a look at Marek Howell, Kazakh defender Dmitry Bruce, William McIsaac of the Spokane Chiefs, Tanner Henricks. I saw a question about Tanner Henricks in the chat, I believe, out of the corner of my eye. Russian defenseman Timur Cole, Elias Stroh-Mavatne, Sam O'Reilly, TJ Ginla, Cole Hudson, Ivan Demidov, James Reeder, Kenta Isagai, of course, Atos Koivu, Cedric Johansson, Nate Miskey, overage defender for the Victoria Royals, Luke Osborne, your boy, Luke Osborne. I think you might have heard of him once in a while.
Who?
Okay. Poop Osborne.
Poop Osborne?
Yeah, Poop Osborne. And Igor Chernyshov to finish the day today was the last one I got to. Nice. So if you have any questions on those guys, fire away. And then we'll get into the chat questions in a minute. So we're brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our affiliate link code below or scan the QR code in the chat window to provide a small kickback to the show on everything you buy in the store. You can also support us through Puck Preps Hockey, where you can get all your NCAA and CHL prospect needs, as well as Fractal Hockey Consulting, which is my business for hand-tracked, targeted player analysis and recruitment packages for the NCAA, Europe, and beyond, with solutions for any organization's needs. And of course, Scouching.ca, which is the website that I have founded for exclusive access to innovative data tools, and a subscription gets you unparalleled insights into draft prospects and players making their way into the NHL, plus a fun Discord server that's popping off often. And maybe we will do some Scouching after dark, a little bit of a little bit of late night nonsense sometime in there for subscribers only and people who have Discord. It'd be fun. All right, chat questions. AJ, unless you have some penciled right away, I can just start from the top and work down. All right. Start from the top. Sam, first question for you. Where's the Miami Vice Corps button-down shirt?
In the wash.
In the wash. All right, good answer. Yep, Sam washes.
Is that supposed to be an outfit that I should... You know what?
You did wear it twice in a row, I think.
Did I wear it twice? I did.
I think by chance you wore it twice. Unless you wore the same shirt for 2 straight weeks.
I wore it once because I was like, this will be funny. And then the next time I wore it because everything else was in the wash. And now this time I didn't wear it because it's in the wash.
And then you went back to wearing what you wore before you wore the Miami Vice Corps button down.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of hoodies, so this one was more so just like I grabbed a hoodie.
What is Oak Gables?
Isn't it a golf club?
It's not a golf club. Don't insinuate that because I'm not good enough to pay for a club. It's a golf course where people who are terrible can go, but it's really pretty, and it makes you feel like you're a good golfer.
Sign me up. We had this conversation like a couple of weeks ago. That's why I remember seeing the sweater. Like, he's back to wearing the sweater again.
Oh, I don't remember that conversation at all.
Yeah, we did. I do believe we talked about it. It is a golf course. I only bought it because I showed up at and it was, I think, like the last day of the season, and I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. It's only 3 degrees out and I'm in a polo and shorts. This was awful. I need a hoodie. I bought one.
Fair enough. It's a nice logo though. I like it.
I actually think it's kind of a nice sweater. Yeah. I ended up buying it and being like, I'll never wear this again. That was a waste. I kind of think it's the sweater I wear the most now. Hence why I've have it on twice.
You might be interested in this before we move on questions, but there's a golf simulator in Brantford that I go to sometimes. They just installed a Formula 1 simulator.
What even is that?
Speaking of which, you can buy a replica of Aston Martin's Formula 1 simulator for like $120,000 US if you want.
Oh man,
I saw it online.
Have started with just 120.
I know, but it's like an actual cockpit of a Aston Martin car with like a massive monitor. And you plug it into your computer, and it is a simulator that costs
Lance
6 figures.
Stroll personally come and deliver it?
I mean, he's not doing much else these days, right? He's after his little crash on the weekend. Not sure if you saw that. Drove right into a barrier after he blew a tire.
It back? No, I'm in the wall.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Canada's having a bad time in Formula 1 these days. Go Canada, go. How does Ryan Chesley project as an NHL defenseman? Would Nick Jensen be a fair comparison if all goes well? I would say that that's the optimistic side. I'm not a huge Ryan Chesley guy. Never have been.
Number 5, number 6.
Yeah, like solid depth guy who's not going to screw up very often.
He can get the cross-checking that is necessary for being a third pairing defenseman.
Yeah.
I think he can cross-check some guys. Not saying he's like overly a cross-check.
No, he's not.
But like he can. I think a coach can definitely show him how to.
Yes, you see this? See the stick? You do this.
I definitely think that
repeatedly, and then
like the little, the first pass, and all the other things that a number 6 has to do.
Yep. I don't know. I with Ryan Chesley, he always kind of struck me as kind of like maybe is fine in the NHL one day, like maybe not.
I think he plays.
Yeah, like I think he'll play, but I don't think he's going to be super impactful. I've always liked Nick Jensen. I think that Nick Jensen might be like, you get him at your best. That's maybe what he is. But Nick Jensen is a solid, maybe number 4 guy, right? Like he's a solid 4 or 5. Any Senators prospects that intrigue you? Pretty thin pool, but they have some interesting names like Stephen Halliday, Theo Wahlberg, and Hoyt Stanley. So let me just in case you forget, because I know
did.
I do all the time, who the Ottawa Senators have in their pool right now. So the number one name they've got listed for me right now is Robbie Yarventi, a point a game in the AHL this season, having a pretty good year. Theo Wahlberg, Thomas Hamara, Owen Beckner, Zach Ostapchuk, Jorian Donovan, Stephen Halliday, Tyler Clevin. Technically, Ridley Gregg is still a prospect in my list here.
Can I answer Ridley Gregg?
Sure.
Thank you.
You can say Ridley Gregg. I'd say of all of these guys, like Theo Wahlberg is kind of neat. I've always liked him. Just a nice, rangy, skilled, good skating defender. Do I think he's outstanding? I mean, I don't think so, but I think he's an interesting one. But yeah, I mean, Ottawa, data-wise, does not have the best prospect pool that I have got in my database here. It's not looking super great, but Robbie Yarventi's having a good year, and Theo Wahlberg is above their average. The rest are a big mixed bag. Big mixed bag. So I hope that answers the question. Two Penguins questions. Ooh, okay. Cool. How did you react to the news of Yuri Tiacek being brought to North America by Jaromir Jagr? And how mad will people... Yeah, I laughed. And how mad will people be online if the Penguins win the lottery and draft Celebrini? Well, people will be furious.
People will be fuming.
They'll be
honestly,
thinking it was
at
rigged.
this point, I think I will be fuming. It can't be the same three teams, right? I'm sorry, Pittsburgh, but Edmonton got it, and then Chicago got it. It's like, you guys just... If I could have picked any of the three to get a generational talent again, it would have been Pittsburgh too. Right. It's like you go from Lemieux to Crosby to whoever, Celebrini or whatever. I wouldn't call him generational, but like you get another guy like that. That's awesome. It's like Favre to Rodgers to Love or something like that. We're cool with this.
Right.
But man, Chicago should not have got it, but they did.
Yep.
And then Edmonton, you did not deserve him, and you have not proven that you have deserved him in all the years he's been there.
They've gotten better
you got
recently,
him.
To be fair.
And now Pittsburgh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but you've been voted out. You do not get to win any cool prospects.
This is why they're going to get it.
This is why they're going to win. This is why people are going to be. Yeah, this is why people are going to be mad. I mean,
as soon as the like the whole scandal last year where the Blackhawks came out, I'm like, they're going to win the lottery. They're going to win the lottery. I said it. I said it to people in a room. I'm like, can't you wait until the Blackhawks win the draft lottery and the whole internet freaks out about it? And I was 100% right. I saw it coming from a mile away. It's not that it was destined to happen. I'm just like, oh man, wouldn't it be so funny? Wouldn't it be so funny if Bedard ends up in Chicago because people are going to freak out about it?
Look what you've done.
No, but seriously, man, it's
Look
like
what he's done.
My favorite thing is when people freak out about, oh, this team got the number one draft pick.
Yeah.
Oh, Team E won the first overall pick in 2020.
It warms my heart. I love it.
Do you remember Team E? Team E. That could have been Pittsburgh.
The pandemic.
That could have been Pittsburgh, and it could have been Lafreniere. It could have been like the whole Rimouski trio of first overall picks over fifth. Because I think it was separated by the same amount, too. Like, I think it was 15 years, 15 years, and 15 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Who was the first one?
Lemieux with Rimouski.
He didn't play in Rimouski.
Did he not?
No. He played for Verdun, I think.
Never mind. But still, I think I'm getting confused because they had the connection between Crosby and Lafreniere, right?
Yeah.
But
totally.
But still, out of the queue, right? Like, it could have been first overall picks, I think 15 years out of the queue.
Just FYI, Mario Lemieux played for the Laval Voisins of the Quebec Major Junior League. He had 282 points in 70 games before he was drafted.
What was he playing, Rocket League?
And in the playoffs before he got drafted, he played 14 games. How many points did he score in 14 games?
14 games, 61,
52.
Damn.
Oh,
how many goals did he? How many goals did he score in 14 games?
So he scored 52 points.
Yes. In 14 games.
31.
It's Lemieux, so he was definitely scoring more than he was dishing at that level.
31.
35 goals.
29.
God!
Over 2 goals a game in a playoff run. That's amazing.
I was close on all of
those.
Yeah,
you were. Yep. Wow. What a guy. Greatest of all time. Tell me I'm wrong.
Hear it from me.
Austin Matthews. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my God. Okay, move on.
Anyway.
No, it's Connor McDavid. Let's be real.
Move on.
But yeah, I mean, I guess just to hop on AJ's point there, I love it when people freak out about the draft lottery. Like, the thing I hate about it is that it makes the NHL change the rules all the time to suit the people who are mad, and then it makes other people mad, so then they change the I hate that.
Commit to something.
Just make them all
that's
mad.
not the people. Yes, that's just a people problem, not an NHL problem, right? So, but the thing I love about it is the people. It's just incredible to see people think it's like rigged and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
it's like
that I
don't know.
disagree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I still stand by. We should do it the way the NBA does. 4 teams get lottery picks. Worst can fall to 5. Like, that feels like the way to do it.
All 16. That's my vote. All 16.
All 16 is such chaos
16.
I'm in for, but I actually would personally subscribe to 6.
Yeah.
6 is about where I would do it.
Nope.
No,
I'm
16.
going all the way.
Come on, man.
Yeah, 16. Coward. But anyway, to answer the second part of this question, how did I react to the news of Yuri Tihacek being brought to the NHL by Jaromir Jagr? I mean, what do you want me to say?
We laughed.
I thought it was cool. I thought we had a laugh.
I answered this question, Will, because we just laughed.
People might not know. People might not know. But yeah, I also saw that he was on Czech Talk Show TV. I saw that on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, he was. I think because they're doing a lot of because his team got relegated, I think, or they're playing to not get relegated in the Czech league. And since he was their leading scorer and he's a kid and all this stuff, he's they're marketing him as like the guy that Jagr is sort of taking under his wing a little bit, because he's like the only guy in that program that like they're sort of able to push around, not literally, but push up the marketing thing.
Yeah.
So they're putting him on TV being like, what's it like playing with Jaromir Jagr and whatever? And he's like, oh, what do you do? It's great. But if Yuri Tihacek ends up with Kyle Dubas and the Pittsburgh Penguins this year, I don't know. He could have called me. He could have called me 3 years ago, but whatever. Better late than never. It's all good. I don't remember if you were on the Tihacek train with me, but
I liked him.
Yeah,
I know, but he's always been like your guy, which I respect. That was one of those ones where like you found the obscure gem and he was sick, and I was like,
that scene from
Victory Train.
The scene from Borat when he's introducing the audience to his family and his mother. This is my mother, and he he leans over. That's how I feel with Yuri Tihacek. These are my sons.
This is Luke Osborne.
This is
little
Logan.
Czech sons.
This is Yuri Tihacek. This is Logan Stankoven.
These are my sons. They're small.
Here is Mirat Kuznetsov.
Yeah, he's toiling the fields. But yes, I felt great. It made me feel really good all over. Made me feel great mentally. I don't know. It might be a long shot, but have you guys seen much of Abbotsford this year? The Abbotsford Canucks. Max Sasson looks like a steal. I have not seen any Abbotsford Canucks hockey this year, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I haven't watched a single game. I don't know if I've actually watched a single Abbotsford games in the post-pandemic.
I come in and drop in on individual guys. I was checking out Arshdeep Baines for a while just to see what he was like, and
shift by shift and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
yeah, Ratu obviously here and there because it's good for the brand, good for the soul to see him do okay in the AHL. I suppose.
I actually do want to see Atu Ratu. Okay, I guess I'll be watching an Abbotsford game.
Feel free to check him out, but anyway, we can move on. Okay, Raybro, graphic designer Raybro. Shout out to Raybro for a last minute change on our thumbnail and everything.
Yep.
Good for you, buddy. Thanks for
Ray.
coming through. Yep, love it.
Thank you.
Let's say you three were blindly and mistakenly hired as NHL GMs.
And mistakenly. Okay.
And mistakenly.
Thanks.
What
Ray.
are your visions? What are your visions for an NHL team, and what do you value? Well, for me, I'm a big believer in the entertainment factor of a hockey team.
Yes.
Hockey is about entertainment. The hockey industry is about entertaining your fans. So that's from a business perspective, that's what I'm driving home is this is a business that we need to make sure our fans are entertained, and I'll do the job of putting a team out there that will put on a show that at least the fans will enjoy.
Yep.
Like that. And to me, that's a lot of what we value in hockey players, right? Like guys who guys who work hard, guys who compete, guys who can also score. They've got some skill, they got some flash, some pizzazz, blah, blah, blah. Just dudes who go and can be exciting players and push pace in the NHL. And on the side, you also have your team marketed as a just a really fun, a fun place to take your family, right? Like that's kind of the whole thing, as long as they can afford tickets.
Yeah. My answer is a little tiny bit different. I need 23 rostered dudes who I have to look up at all of them.
Okay.
Wow.
And you're already a big guy.
Yeah.
Everyone has to be like
All right.
6'6".
Okay. So Nick Bugstad, first line center. Got it.
Bigger.
Matthew Rempe, first line winger.
Yeah, stuff like
yeah.
that. No, basically you kind of stole. Mine's all just pace and space, baby. Just
Pace and space. I like it.
Yep.
that's all. That's like how I've defined.
Yep.
Say it as quick as possible. It's
Yep.
pace and space, baby. That's
Yeah.
it.
I love that.
And
I'm taking that home.
I think you know where my heart lies. All
I'm
speed.
gonna be the
baby.
Toronto Maple Leafs?
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh hell no.
Oh.
I
You
just
think
thought be the Toronto Maple Leafs.
No way. Why would I want to do that? I don't want to be. I'm constantly advocating for them to change to a faster style of play. I want a team that's suffocating, that just comes at you with so much speed, is so much fun to watch with a ton of skill, just sort of positionless, like in the sense where a defenseman can join a rush and then you know somebody's going to cover for you. I just want it to be constant pressure, almost like as constant attack as possible, and just give it to them for like 60 minutes where you're going at full speed almost all the time. That's the way
Fair
I
enough.
build a team, man. Just goalie, who cares? Just have the puck the entire time, right,
Just a
guys?
guy, yeah, just who can play net. Yeah, just someone who can stand there.
But if I were to actually have a goalie, I'd want a guy who could play the puck to keep it going, because I feel like so many
Right.
times you see sort of like the speed of or the pace of a play just kind of die because it takes a while. Like the goalie just leaves the puck back, lets their defenseman come back and grab it, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with forecheckers. So I want a goalie who can play
Yeah.
the puck. I just want like a lot of puck movement and a lot of speed.
Carey Price, baby.
Igor
No goalie.
Shesterkin, baby.
My goalie's staying in the net.
Carey.
Yeah.
Man,
No
I watched
way.
Carey
Yeah,
handle
no.
the puck for like a god for
The only-
years.
The only reason I say a goalie stays in the net is because if you play a fast style, I feel like your opponents are also going to want to play fast to like shut you down. And if they sort of suffocate you in your own end and your goalie's out there playing the puck, I feel like that could be a bad time.
Yeah, those two styles may not always
But-
gel, but there's probably a way to make it work. But I don't know, man. I
Yeah,
watched
you pick
Price
your
handle the puck for
spots.
too long. Like,
yeah.
there's a way. I always felt when I watched Montreal, I was like, you can do more with what Price can do with the puck, for sure, without question. You can do more. He was better at starting breakouts than some of our defensemen were.
Right. Someone asked about a player I've never seen before. Actually, that's not true. I watched Alexander Filatiev not too long ago, but I thought he was a guy. He's a re-entry Russian guy. I think he played in the KHL for a big chunk of this year. He's got points, but I don't know. I haven't seen a ton out of him that I thought was amazing. Question about Maxim Velikov is a CSKA Moscow player who I've seen a little bit, but I don't really have any strong opinions on, honestly. Have you watched any of Alexander Pashin lately? It seems the last couple of months he's taken off and had a monster playoff series. I mean, I see him in passing when I watch the KHL, where he's usually an opponent. So if you don't know, Alexander Pashin plays for Spartak Moscow. This season, he's got 19 points with 4 points in 5 playoff games. After they eliminated Severstal Cherepovets in 5 games. So poor Severstal with my boy Timur Mukhanov and Vladimir Grudinin, and those guys will probably go back to junior and score a bunch of points. But yeah, no, I don't have any. I mean, I haven't seen much of him in person, like looked right at Pashin and did the thing and sort of ingested what I was looking at. But I mean, he's still like Alexander Pashin, right? Small, but zippy and skilled and shoots well and just a ton of fun to watch. So
Right with the puck on his stick.
Yep. And so, you know, for a guy who's playing his first full KHL season, doesn't look too bad out there doing it. So good for him. What do we got? What's coming up? Thoughts on Tanner Hendricks? Oh, that's a guy I tracked. I've seen you watched him and I liked him. Yeah. So Tanner Hendricks, I put a game on of his a couple of days ago. I don't know if you've seen much of Tanner Hendricks. He was at the Prospects game, the BioSteel game,
Yep.
or no, was it? No, the All-American was it?
It's whatever they BioSteel game got changed.
Right. The All-American Prospects game, the USHL game. I mean, I came away thinking that he was like a big guy who could skate decently well. I just didn't. I wanted like a little bit more out of him. Like it seemed like he wasn't really challenging himself a whole lot. Like he just kind of was making simple plays and sitting back a little bit. I thought that the defensive coverages were a little bit spotty with him.
Definitely, he's a USHL guy where you're like, yeah, I can see how in a way there's more here, but there's a lot of guys in the USHL who seem to settle into that type of like, it's not pure like CHL, just like get the puck and chip it.
Right.
There's a little bit more thought to it, but it's like the USHL version of it.
He is very young. He's very tall and very lanky. So that I think is something to note. And he's a guy that I think it's pretty easy for him. You just stuff him in college. I don't remember off the top of my head where he's going. But I don't know. I came away thinking like as a raw long-term dude, he almost has the best birthday of the whole year. The best birthday of the whole year is July 21st, of course, but he's July 25th. But that's okay. We'll forgive him this time. What?
What's July 21st?
That's my birthday. That's the best day of the year.
You didn't say my birthday, so why are you wrong?
What?
You didn't say my birthday.
Yeah, I know. But like around my birthday, they were on the moon in 1969, man. Nobody can compete with that. It's the best. There were people on the moon 21 years before I was born. So how about that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Take that tone.
But Tanner Hendricks, I thought he was fine. He's on the watch list now. He's not off the board anymore, but like he's maybe a mid-round flyer and you just stash him in college and let him go.
Okay.
Oh man, what is the prized possession in your household? Well, that sounds like a trick question in case anyone wants to come and steal it from me, but I know. I have a Sega Dreamcast that I love. I never touch it, but I love it. I'd say I have a personalized signed hockey stick from Steve Yzerman, which is pretty cool. Has my name on it and everything, and there's that. You look like you have something to say.
I thought your prized possession was found in the ceiling.
No. No. Oh no. Oh God, no. There's a can of worms. No. That is on the list, though. If anyone, I don't think anyone really understands what we're talking about. No, I'm not even sure we can discuss it.
No, you can't.
No, I don't think so. That's for Scouching After Dark. Okay. Subscribe to Scouching.ca and you get to learn the story of my real prized possession in this household.
No. I feel bad that we can't say anything.
I know. I feel terrible because it's one of the best stories.
I tried to keep the laughing, but I couldn't. And then I knew I had to explain it because I'd look like an idiot.
It's so good. I'd also say I have a handmade bass guitar made by a company in Hamilton, Ontario, F Bass, which is the one on the far left there, Sammy. That was a 30th birthday gift, which I treasure as well. It is extremely. I mean, it better be. It's a very nice their factory is real dingy, but that's because they don't care. They just make good stuff.
So that's fine.
If you're a musician, check them out because they're amazing. And super nice people too. Anyway, I'd say those are probably a decent enough selection.
Yeah,
and again, pay for a subscription and we'll do a Scouching After Dark and you'll get to hear all the fun stories. Okay, John says, are Engstrom, I'm assuming Adam Engstrom, Bogdan Konyushkov, and Philip Eriksson NHL prospects? If so, add them the Kapanen, Tuck, Kidney, Farrell. Do the Leafs? Do the Habs have legit top 6 guys in the group of Kapanen, Tuck, Kidney, Farrell in there with Eriksson, and then 2 of those guys are defensemen?
No. I mean, anything can happen. And I also, for what it's worth, I also would have said this about Joshua Waugh, and I still don't think he's a top 6 guy, but he's looking better than quite a few guys on the Habs have looked. So
he does look quite good.
So I'm going to concede that, maybe take this with a grain of salt, but I look at that group and I kind of it's still no. I think Sean Farrell will still be an interesting NHL player.
I think a couple of them could be like down your lineup. Like I could see Sean Farrell being more of an energy guy. I could see not Kasperi. Which Kapanen is it? There's too many Kapanens. Oliver? I could see Oliver Kapanen being like an outside shot for like a 4th line center. Like he's just smart and does stuff well. Luke Tuck, I mean, zoom kaboom gets you a paycheck these days. Like if you can just run around and hit guys, you can play down the lineup for sure. And especially with guys like who's the Swedish guy that you have?
Eriksson?
What? Heineman. Emil Heineman.
I thought you were talking about in that
No.
list of players.
Emil Heineman. But
Yeah.
like those guys, sure, you could play them in the NHL, I suppose. I do like Philip Eriksson. I think he's played really, really well this year. The rest, I don't know. We'll see. The NHL is really hard, right? Like, think of how people were talking about Sean Farrell last year, and he's been like a good AHLer this year, energetic still, which bodes well. But
NHL projections are really hard. Man, our Habs fans, like, you got to hope to death Lane Hudson just comes out swinging when he makes this team, or else they're going to, that narrative.
Oh, man.
Like, I will set an over-underline at the start of the season to see if it's like 14.5 games before Habs fans are like, wait.
Yeah. Grav is here. Hello, Grav. I don't know if he's still here, but hello. All the way from Texas. Even though I'm a new Badgers fan, Badgers being Wisconsin, I think. The Texas in me loved, I mean, it is the Wisconsin Badgers, but I don't know if those are the Badgers.
It's got to be.
It has to be. The Texas in me loved seeing Brent Johnson absolutely dominate for Ohio State this weekend. Oh, so he's watching Ohio State play Wisconsin. He's been very good.
That's sick.
He's he's gone to a team where they're giving him minutes, and he's the skating is really good still. Like, a lot of those things are still really good. The problems are still there, but he's coming along okay.
Sweet.
Yeah, at least I think so. Another question about Philip Eriksson. The Crosby would be dynamite in Colorado. Yes, I mean, yes, he would.
Yes, he would.
Tons of players would be, to be fair.
That's true. Yeah, I would look good
in Colorado.
Yeah,
because I'd suck. I had a joke and I lost it as soon as I started saying it. I'm sorry.
Of course. Ray Bro, Crosby was drafted the year I was born. Oh God. I distinctly remember watching Sidney Crosby get drafted. I distinctly remember watching the draft lottery Sidney Crosby was drafted, because he could have gone to any team. I don't know if anyone remembers that, because it was coming out of the lockout. So they had a lottery where all of the teams had lottery balls, and the way that it worked was if you had a certain number of balls, and if you made the playoffs, you lost a ball, and it went back a few years. So if you made the playoffs for, I believe, 3 straight years, you lost all but 1 ball. But if you hadn't made the playoffs, you had 4, something like that.
That's insane.
And so every team was in the NHL draft lottery. That's how, like, the Ducks that year were really good.
Wait, can we just do this for all 32 spots in the draft?
Oh my God, I don't know if I would do that. I feel like that's like, whoo, that's crazy.
I think that gets a little nuts.
I think it's a little nuts.
I think that the top or like the bottom 16 rather are the best way to do it. You miss the playoffs, there should be some sort of reward in terms of getting a chance at the lottery. That's just how I feel.
I agree. I think so. But that one time, though, it was insane. I mean, the Ducks won the Stanley Cup that year, 2006, I think, right? And they had the 2nd overall pick and took Bobby Ryan. So, like, it was a crazy, crazy time.
That is wild.
Yeah. That's why
Stanley Cup I remember watching.
Right. And that's why Brian Burke always says, like, Sidney Crosby came down to 1 lottery ball and he could have been a Duck. And could you imagine Sidney Crosby in Anaheim? Like,
no, it's hard.
I feel
to
like
imagine.
that would it's hard to imagine
anywhere else,
but
man.
it would have completely. I feel like it would have completely changed that organization. I mean, obviously, it would have completely changed the organization, but like that area. I mean, who knows, right? Because Anaheim was a great team at the time, and went on to win a cup.
Some couple in Pittsburgh who got married over their shared love for Crosby that never get married.
There are probably many of those.
Exactly. You're just divorcing half of Pittsburgh.
There are probably many children born after about 9 months after the Pittsburgh Penguins won those Stanley Cups. There are many of them. They probably wouldn't exist without Sidney Crosby. So good for him.
That is awesome.
But what about all the ones in Anaheim that were never born because he didn't go there? It's a shame. But this is the timeline we're in.
They were all Corey Perry reason because of the triumph in the Stanley Cup. It's all because of their babe. The way that Sidney Crosby had the effect on people in Pittsburgh, Ryan Getzlaf and Corey Perry had that effect on people in Anaheim.
Yep. Okay. Andrew asks, what would you do with Macklin Celebrini? Keeping him in college, go to the AHL, the NHL, or send him to Sweden? I love Sweden is thrown in there at the end. Just throw him to Sweden.
That's awesome. NHL.
Yeah, I think you can't send him to the AHL, I don't think.
And
he'd have to go.
So,
and he's
so over college.
There's college.
We watched a college game of his last week or something like that, and it was just
great.
It was probably maybe the best viewing I've had this year, and it was hilarious. Every single shift, there was 2 to 3 plays where if another first round caliber guy made one of them for the whole game, I'd be like, all right.
It was a great game for sure. So yeah, I think NHL, and you, especially if for the teams that are at the bottom of the standings this year, if it's Celebrini and Bedard next year in Chicago, whatever, right? You just let it ride and see what happens. Thoughts on Herman Truff? Well, David Phillips loves Herman Truff. We all know that.
He moved up 2 spots on my board since the last time you asked.
Yeah, I really like Herman Truff. I mean, big, heavy guy who moves pretty well. He's got some skill, wicked shot. I think he's one of those guys that's turned it on since going to pro hockey in Sweden. He's playing top division, I think now, or was he loaned out? He was playing for HV71 at the top level for a while there. But I don't know if he was loaned out. He looks like he's playing with the junior team. He was loaned out to Hockey Allsvenskan, and I remember watching one of those games now that I see it, and I thought he was pretty good. But I'd say top 40, top 50 guy, but he'll probably go a little later than that for some reason. But yeah, I say that's reasonable. San Jose Sharks fan here. Can you convince us, the whole fandom, that we should feel good about David Edstrom?
I mean, you should, but
he's not bad.
I wouldn't go what type of good you trying to feel? You trying to feel like you just get your franchise saved because you didn't?
Yeah,
you'll like having him.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of like if the Leafs traded Fraser Minton somewhere. It's you're gonna get a guy who could probably play in the NHL and be okay at it.
Okay, just to name the pop of my head, and it's not a direct player comparable because but level of impact type player potentially. How excited are you, people of San Jose, if I was to tell you that you could get Lars Eller?
Right. Yeah.
Are you sitting Lars Eller at one point, I watched him take the first face-off as our first line center.
Those were the days, eh?
Those are the days Plekanec got hurt.
Yeah. There was a time he was an elite prospect too.
Lars, how excited are you for Lars Eller? Because Lars Eller was a good, Eller was a good hockey player. He did stuff.
Yeah,
but
he's solid.
People would all at the same time. I remember when he was younger, Montreal fans, some of them were well, I was expecting more, and I feel that's what's going to happen with Edstrom and San Jose.
But that's almost every prospect except for the guys that come in and are outstanding, right?
Yeah.
For God's sakes, even people are I wish William Nylander was better, right? There's that, or people think William Nylander sucks, and he's a top 20 player, undeniably, maybe even top 15.
Yeah.
But going back on it, because this show's not all about the Leafs, for all of you viewers. I think at the end of the day, it's we can get invested in hype trains and then get disappointed when it doesn't work out. It's what's your saying, Will? 90% of all prospects suck?
Yeah.
At least relative to what you expect of them, right? So
yeah.
There are only a few guys that are really good. Go on, Sam.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, I feel like that's pretty much the perfect assessment on Edstrom. Is don't go overhyped with it, but enjoy the fact that you got a decent piece, and if he's solidifying himself in the NHL of what he will be around the time that all these other Sharks prospects are popping, then you'll be happy you have him.
Yeah,
you're getting a player.
And he will keep his value for future trade assets, which is something that I do think is underrated when looking at prospects. It's not about okay, what did my team just get? It's well, I don't know, but you want to have a guy that in 3 years still is valuable in some capacity. You don't want to cash in all on hype that's boom or bust.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. He's fine. He's a fine player. I mean fine in a good way. He's a fine player. He'll make the right plays. He'll go to the right spots. He plays hard. He's big. He can play. Assuming the Penguins don't move up to number 1 but stay in the top 10, if you're Kyle Dubas, do you choose to give San Jose the first this year, or do you keep the pick and give him next year's pick? That's a terrifying decision if you're me, because if you keep the pick, next year's is unprotected. But if you give it up, you're giving up a top 10 pick. And ideally, Pittsburgh isn't this bad next year, assuming what we're talking about is going to happen. But you're running the risk that maybe they're not going to be as good and they're going to suck again.
What was this whole thing with Ottawa in 2018 when they kept the Tkachuk pick? Who were they supposed to give that to, or had the choice to give that to?
Was it San Jose?
I'm pretty sure. I think it was.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I have to pull up the Ottawa Senators. I don't even know where I would find that information.
Colorado, maybe?
I honestly am.
Oh, it was the Duchesne trade. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it was. God, that feels like ages ago.
And then they wasn't Byram like Ottawa's pick, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, okay. So I feel like this is how I will answer that, is that back in 2018, everybody memed on Ottawa for keeping the pick and taking Tkachuk when the 2019 draft was supposed to be better. And then that pick ended up being the Bowen Byram pick. And for 2 years afterwards, everyone was like, Byram is so much better than Tkachuk. And I mean, now we can look at this and go, yeah, okay. And I was also one of those asses being an ass about Tkachuk, the Tkachuk pick. And now I look like an ass.
My thought is that you keep it, because
you keep it.
It very, very rarely happens that teams hand over a top 10 pick willingly, right? Like if you've got the pick in your top 10 and you know what you've got, like also psychologically, if you have Sidney Crosby on your team and he's not super down with being terrible and you're trying not to be bad next year, why would you offer a top 10 pick to be not in the same range next year? So to me, like you send the wrong message by punting it to the team.
Berkeley Catton, the 9th overall, and you just got like a 3rd overall pick at 9.
Yeah, that's the thing too. You never know who could be available at that pick.
Yeah, I think you keep it. And
I think you just keep it and worry about your problems later. And if people meme on you for whatever happens, then make sure your scouts do a good job.
Also, that you have most control over.
You can also get a first round pick next year too. Like you at the deadline, if you're bad, you're probably gonna acquire a first round pick some way, or you're going to get a bunch of picks for trading depth pieces, right? So it's not a big deal. Just shoot for the stars the next season, try and get as many good free agents as you can, and sign them to cheap deals, like 1-year deals, and then you can sell them all off if you're not good enough.
So Scott in the chat says, it's time to play Guess That New York Rangers game misconduct penalty. I cheated and saw it down the line, but who do you think in the New York Rangers got a game misconduct tonight?
It's Matt Rempe. It has to be.
Yes, it is Matt Rempe. So he's been thrown. What?
I was gonna say Matt.
He's been thrown out of another game.
Even before I saw the answer in the chat, I knew it was Matt Rempe.
Heck yeah. Awesome.
Love it. Okay. So there's that. Fun times. Do you think Florian Xhekaj can be a decent NHLer? He's over a point a game the last couple of months and seems like he's developing nicely when he's not suspended. Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, we're watching Matt Rempe after being not a very good junior player.
He's developing well when he's not suspended.
I mean, look.
I love the way that's worded.
If you put on, like, you could probably answer this yourself. Put on your, like, troglodyte Neanderthal hat, right? Like, put on your cave dwelling hat and just say, big man, skate, go boom, hit person.
Yeah.
All you do is go out there and crush people like your brother. Yeah, you could play in the NHL. Sure, whatever. I don't know. Is he going to be useful? I'm not so optimistic about that. Like
here's for Montreal fans specifically, I know what type of team you guys want. Right? Like I am one of you. I know what type of team you want. I know what type of team we have had for like 10 years and what everyone is always saying we need more of. The Jack guys aren't gonna fix this.
Well, you've got all you need is 22 Yuri Slafkovskys and 1 Cole Caulfield, and you'll be fine. You'll be good. You're good.
And 1 Nick Suzuki and a Kirby Dach.
1,500 goalies every year that you draft.
God, I miss Carey Price.
Hey, Jacob Fowler, man, he's looking pretty good.
I agree, but man, like
I
don't think it's possible to ever be more attached to a goalie for the rest of my life than I was to Price.
I've never been attached to
sorry.
a goalie because all of them suck that come to my franchise, except
unless they don't. all goalies suck until they don't. Just look at like Alex Lyon and Anthony Stolars and Phoenix Copley and everybody's David Riddick.
To be fair, Freddie Anderson was pretty awesome when he first came, and I love Ilya Samsonov. He's been my favorite goalie.
I like Samsonov a lot. He's always been my favorite Leafs goalie since you guys stopped sucking.
I just hope. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be hard for them to re-sign him this year, I think, which sucks because the John Tavares contract's a huge anchor. But if they can get him re-signed, that'd be awesome. But
yeah, we'll see. AJ, your favorite trade of the day should be Connor Dewar for a 4th-round pick and Dmitry Ovechkin.
Honestly, Connor Dewar. Kind of
Connor Dewar looked pretty good the other night.
I like him. I know he gave up a goal on the penalty kill, but it's like that's more an instance
shoot him with a gun.
No, that's more an instance of him not being accustomed to the penalty kill that the Leafs have. So, but I've liked Connor Dewar when I've seen him, especially like I liked his game against Montreal, minus the one mistake on the PK. But hey, it sucks that Ovechkin's gone, but you know what?
He wasn't really going anywhere, and he's going back to Russia anyway.
I feel like the Ovechkin train kind of lost its momentum about 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, he was always going to be a long shot.
He was just fun.
He was just fun to watch, super skilled, wicked shooter, but he's small, didn't really play big, just, and I watched him a bit with the Marlies this year, and it's like, I feel like if they left him there for a few years, maybe he'd sort of come along a little bit, but go back to Russia, the Leafs will still, or the Wild will still have his rights indefinitely. So if he ever does pop in Russia, you can bring him back.
Yeah, and then he'll become the next Kaprizov and break my heart.
And he'll be the next. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? He could be a good player one day. But you know what? Connor Dewar is kind of what the Leafs kind of could use. And I liked him the other night.
You don't need to hold on to that lottery ticket any longer.
No. Not really. Especially when he's already on the Marlies and not necessarily like blowing you away. I would like the reaction to the Rempe hit live. Oh God. Okay.
If I were to do that, you would hear it through my actual.
No, I'll just pull it up on my laptop here.
Okay. Well,
there we go.
But I can't see it.
Oh man, you can see how this is gonna go.
Oh yeah, you can.
Slow mo.
Oh my God.
Do you want to flip the laptop for me? Because otherwise I'm gonna open it and you're gonna hear it. Oh, like towards the camera and play it.
I'll try.
If I could see it.
I don't think it's gonna work that well, but hey.
Can you see this?
Yeah, I can. I can absolutely see it.
This is hilarious. Okay. We have a real low budget production here. Just watch this. See what you can.
Oh God.
So bad. So bad.
That is like almost impressive. I watched for the very first time in a very long time, I watched a UFC event. I watched UFC 299 on the weekend, and I didn't see anybody do an elbow uppercut during the whole event. That's crazy.
You want to talk a dislocated elbow from the body that people talk about in the prospect world? That's one way to do it. Like, get your upper hand up there and just like chicken wing a guy. I haven't seen a good chicken wing in a while.
How much you want to bet he does not get suspended?
Was there a call on the play? I don't know.
They got game misconduct, but I just get the feeling.
Oh, right.
But I just get the feeling,
look,
the way the league likes to not penalize the New York Rangers, that he's not going to get anything other than maybe a fine.
I want to play a game. I'm gonna kill time until I get there.
Okay, go for it.
I want to play a game of how many minutes of the game did Matthew Rempe play before getting a game misconduct. Let me just pull it up here. 3 minutes? You're saying
Let's
3
go
minutes?
247. 247.
I'm going to go 3:15.259.
Ye of little faith. Oh, wait. No, that's not tonight's game only. Man, where's just the stats for tonight's game as it happens on the NHL website? The NHL website is impossible.
It's a website.
Scores, yeah.
Okay, here it is. Yeah, scores. Devils Rangers. Okay, Devils Rangers. And then go to box score. There it is. Okay, for the Rangers.
3:15.259.
What was your guess?
3:15.259.
3:15
with 259 milliseconds.
Oh, pi. Okay, so pi minutes. And it's 3:14. AJ,
Well, it was 2:47, but I've now seen it.
Oh, you've seen it? 4 minutes and 48 seconds of ice time, and he's now had 15 minutes of penalties. So there's that. Rip. Bye-bye. See you, buddy. That is, I mean, I imagine he'll get suspended.
Right?
That was egregious.
I imagine he'll get suspended. I can't imagine he doesn't get suspended for that.
Yeah,
That
like,
is
you
I
gotta
just
set a
wouldn't-
precedent for these
wouldn't be
tall
surprised
guys
if he
before
doesn't.
some others.
Oh man, if he doesn't get suspended, holy
It's a hockey
smokes.
play, Will. There's no revenge in it.
What's he
so-
supposed to do? He's so tall. What is he supposed to do?
Exactly. So it's a hockey
Keep
play.
keep his arms close to his body, just like every other human being on the planet,
Yeah,
or
he
what?
can't. He's too tall. He's got to stretch.
like the-
He's got to stretch, Will.
He's got to stretch like the Wright brothers out there with his wingspan to just, T-pose into someone.
Man, how many? Okay, theoretical. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this. It's just entertain me for a second. What is the furthest distance that Victor Wembanyama could elbow a hockey player if he was on skates? Keep in mind he's on skates too, so we're not just talking like. And Wembanyama could like open that door over there, or like I don't know, knock the camera over from where I'm sitting, like that type of stuff.
I don't have much of a gauge on it, man. Like I couldn't tell you.
Wembanyama's wingspan is so broken.
Victor Wembanyama's wingspan, his arm span.
What is Matt Rempe's first? Can you Google that?
I don't know. I'm not Googling.
All right,
Wembanyama's.
I'll try.
Yeah, try it. But Wembanyama's is apparently 8 feet 2 inches. So, and that's arm span. So tip to tip, I think. Finger to fingertip.
Yeah.
So divide that by half. You've got about 4 feet. So what's 4? That's over a meter. That's a meter. That's a meter plus.
He's got a meter stick.
Yeah, he's got a meter stick you could just swing around. So there's that. Man, I don't know. I don't watch much NBA, but I legitimately will tune in and watch the Spurs if I come across a game.
Did you watch I hope the game you did see was the one.
The Raptors one? Where
the OKC one when it was him and Chet. Did you see the highlights?
No, I didn't.
Chet Holmgren is a baller, right?
I'm
He's
saying
a good player.
I'm like once in a while I'm watching this, not every day.
He blocked a 7-footer who takes clean jump shot. That guy has never once faced contested pressure in his life, and he got blocked. A 3-point step back got blocked from a 7-footer. The league is toast.
Yeah, he's absurd. Like I saw
the league is toast.
Like the thing that blows my mind about him is how quickly he covers the court.
Because he's not just athletic, he's actually legitimately really smart basketball player. Like he's a really good basketball. If he was 6'6", he'd still be an elite prospect.
It's like 6 or 7 steps, and he's one end of the court to the other. It's insane.
I'll never forget I've seen crazier plays now, but the play where I realized it was game over defensively was when he was guarding the Warriors in preseason and he was guarding Clay at the 3-point line.
Yeah.
And they basically used that to draw Wembanyama out and do a quick fire pass play to get it into the slot, into the key. And Wembanyama just turned around, took one step, and stole the ball from Draymond in the post. I was what? What
a
even
guy.
Is that?
Watching Oscar Vuillet right now. Not that I want to not talk about Victor Wembanyama, but we got to keep moving.
This is a hockey show.
Yeah, watching Oscar Vuillet right now. What are your thoughts on him?
I've liked him. I
He's
don't
fine.
know what I rate up. I didn't rank him yet so far for an NHL prospect.
Yeah,
I think he'll be there when the list makes it to 100, which is the end goal. He'll be towards the end of it.
Yeah, same. I think he's a great shooter.
Yeah, great shooter. I like how he moves away from the puck too. Still not all there. I'm figuring out what.
Well, it's kind of like a Chinnikov in a way.
Yeah,
where it's like small, goes decently well, but doesn't play very hard. Doesn't just kind of is there. Wicked finisher.
Yep.
But you wonder about like the NHL. That's the big thing. Someone said that people are overrating Tomas Hertl. I don't think he's amazing, but it depends on what you're.
It just depends. Like if
he's going to be Vegas's 2C,
80-point star.
Yeah,
Vegas's 2C. Like who cares?
But like that's still a big
and then you have
that's a big acquisition. To downplay acquiring a quality second line center ahead of a playoff cup run. I mean, that's not a small thing.
Like he would be a really good 2C. Like he was a 1C in San Jose.
Oops. Yeah.
And they're pretty barren in terms of what they have the past couple of years. I've always really liked Tomas Hertl. I think it's going to be a great role for him playing behind Jack Eichel. Awesome.
Yeah, not bad. Not a bad one too. Which first rounder plays with the most quote unquote heart? I don't know. Artemonov, maybe.
I didn't want to just use my
Iginla.
repeat answer, but Artemonov. Iginla's a good one.
Artemonov, Iginla.
I'm rising on Iginla.
Yeah,
I
you
always
told me.
liked
Yeah,
him, but like
he's looking pretty good. Yeah, some of those guys, something in there.
I'm coping.
Yeah,
For the inevitable.
Yeah. What else do we got here? What's next? Where do you think Franzen goes? I think you mean Noel Franzen. I would say medium, like mid round, somewhere in the middle. That's all I got. I don't know. Later than people think. That's, people who look at his Byron Bader card, he'll go later than people will think he should go based on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. Sean Cosgrove says, guy washes his clothes every week. Sick brag.
Joke's on you. It's every other week. No, it's every. I don't know.
Joke's on you. My mom does it for me.
My mom does my laundry.
I just grab my hamper and throw my stuff in.
No, lucky you.
Whatever's in there is getting washed, and then I throw it in the dryer, and then I go, man, I shouldn't have shrunk that. I don't have a lot of room to spare.
I don't remember the last time I shrunk something. Anyway,
I got a bad dryer.
Noob. Anyway, F1 scouting question. Oh, here we go.
Ooh.
What did you think of Ollie Behrman's debut?
Yo,
he looked poised and pulled off a nifty overtake on Tsunoda. Yeah, dude, he looked great. 18 years old. Did you see the picture of his headrest and how dented it was from going around the track?
No.
Because his neck muscles aren't the same as any other F1 racer because he's 18. So there's like a dent in the side, in like the thing that goes around their neck.
No way.
There's like a dent. You should Google it if you have the chance.
I will,
sometime.
absolutely.
But it's crazy.
I loved watching that. I am a Ferrari fan too. So
if you're unaware, one of Ferrari's drivers had to have his appendix out, and the backup driver they put in was 18 years old, who was in Formula 3 like 2 years ago.
And he was, I found out, and then my coworker told me this as well, but he was arguably the best driver in F2 last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's crazy. A legit prospect. Like he's going to be at F1 for sure. And in Ferrari is not a seat to just step into for your first one. Like your pressure is through the roof with Ferrari. And I think he did awesome. I think I loved the part where you got to keep seeing his dad when Behrman was doing his qualifying laps. They kept cutting to his dad, and he was overreacting to every corner.
Yeah. Oh man, if I had an 18-year-old son who was on a Formula 1 race out of nowhere, I would be terrified.
Oh yeah. And one other thing, just for people who may not know, he drove on Jeddah.
Yes.
That is an evil
scary
track.
It's a scary track.
It is. Every corner is blind and there's no space. Basically,
it is the playpen.
So fast, it doesn't stop. There's no slow down points. Everything is just pure speed. It's pace and it's pace and no space.
No, it's a street. It's a street track too.
It's terrifying.
It is a playpen for oil guys. Like the oil people in Saudi Arabia who are literally. I think Jeddah is just like a city they're building in the desert. They're just like, let's build the craziest, fastest racetrack we can possibly do on the streets of Jeddah. Let's do that. And then they did it, and it's insane.
That is kind of a cool track.
Yeah, it is cool. It's a lot of fun. Do you think TJ Ginla's skating has gotten better? I mean, yes. I still think that separation speed for him is going to be an issue, and fighting off NHL level pressure, because he's a guy who likes to have sort of that battle in him of getting guys off of him and whatever. He doesn't have that making room for himself. He's more of a I'm going to fight my way through a guy, as opposed to I'm going to back up. He's good at fighting them off now, but he isn't the biggest dude. He's one of these dudes who's 5'11" or whatever or something, and plays like he's 6'4", but fast in a way.
Yeah, but there are some of those 5'11" guys who just they get strong, really strong, and they get that low center of gravity, and they just plow through dudes. And every time I'm watching again, I'm like, yeah, I feel like you're going to be that guy. I feel like in the NHL, you were just going to be a very, very hard player to get work around. And he's got great skill in close areas. He battles really well. Great
He's one of those guys too, who makes plays really quick. Like,
yeah, he's
in the offensive zone, he'll look
pace.
like he's just going around the perimeter, and then whoop, the puck's in the net because he passed it to someone or whatever, or just quickly put it on net and bang.
Just immediately recognizes a chance and wastes no time going on it.
Yeah. So the skating, I think, is better than it was, and I still think that that's probably his limitation right now. He works hard, he moves his feet a lot, but I just, but it is better, I think, than it was.
I think we missed a question, Will.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. Why didn't Edmonton get a couple of decent D-men like Savard,
Oh.
Harris plus Yolanen for CC and Burgo kind of trade? They really need V-men and pray goalies hold up.
As a guy who has watched David Savard, what are you're not gonna get what you need from that trade?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Most likely, I think probably Edmonton not trading for one might be the right thing. Like Edmonton is not a team that's going to just suddenly patch holes defensively at the deadline, and there weren't really defenders to patch the holes they needed except for
Sean Walker.
I mean, like Sean Walker. I was going to say like Sean Walker would,
Yeah.
They just didn't get him. So like if you don't get him, then
they did get Troy Stetcher.
Right?
They did get him,
like Stetcher.
But I mean, and apparently, like they said this on 32 Thoughts, but the team and the guys on the team really like Cody Ceci. Like they think he brings something that they need. And you're not like, there's no room to add more guys, right? Like even Vincent Desharnais, like he's not the best player with the puck, but he has turned into at least a guy who can stand around and block shots and, make the first pass, and he moves okay for a gigantic guy, I guess. So if you have guys that you like, you're not going to go out and trade for whatever. You don't have a first round pick this year anyway. So a guy like a Sean Walker
was not
available unless they traded a first round pick next year or the year after,
which was probably
I think they could have gotten him for less, because we got to remember that they Colorado gave Ryan Johansson up with the first round pick, and that was basically a cap dump in order to get Sean Walker. So I feel like they probably could have. It's just they probably would have had to move some money out too, potentially.
Even then, it's not like Sean Walker was not going to be the difference maker in Edmonton winning the cup or not.
They're also not that bad. Like the defense group is not great on paper, but they're not that bad. I think the main thing is Ken Holland looks at his group and goes, a Troy Stetcher kind of fits kind of what we need. Yep. Like a guy who can play with the puck, push things up the ice a little bit better than some of the guys we have. But what's already on the team, like an Ekholm, and say what you will about Darnell Nurse, but that guy in the playoffs will probably be helpful. Evan Bouchard is probably one of the best offensive defensemen in the league.
Yeah, he's right up there.
He's up there. I don't know. I don't think it, like, I know some Oilers people were saying like the sky is falling, but like getting Adam Henrique is a solid ad.
They clearly prioritize penalty kill. Like that's what Ken Holland was talking about. He's like, they wanted penalty killing forwards and guys with versatility. Like that was their main idea.
Yeah.
And like, what are you gonna do? Pay how much is CC making? Like it's
I think.
Like
3.25.
And you can put that on a bottom pair. Like I know he's a bottom pair caliber player a lot of the times, but it's just like they felt like penalty kill was their biggest issue, and they went out and addressed it. Like Edmonton's still a really good team. They still have a good shot at this. We'll see if Stuart Skinner can really be the guy to hold them up for a cup run. I don't know, but you got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, all right? And Zach Hyman, who's been awesome this year. So,
yeah.
They're a good team.
I mean, they're on paper, I think the best possession team in the league. So we'll see how that goes. Do
you want to rapid fire these now? Because we are.
Yeah, let's rapid fire these. My dream goalie is Anthony Stolarz. No. How are we feeling about the Jacob Perreault and Ovchinnikov moves? We kind of went over Chinnikov. I mean, Jacob Perreault, I think, is the better player in the Perreault-Mishak trade.
Yeah.
So good for Montreal for picking him up. I don't know if there's a massive upside player there, but who knows?
We already have so many middling prospects anyway.
Right.
We'll just take the
full chaos all-star team of the 2024 draft. Gabriel Eliasson on defense for sure.
I'm sorry, but the only person who gets to wear the captaincy is Jesse Pulkkinen.
Yeah, him and Jesse Pulkkinen on a defense line together, pair together for sure. Who are your forwards? All all-star team of what was the word that was specifically used? Full chaos all-star team.
Can I put Trevor Connolly down on this line? 'Cause
Sure.
he's really good, but
Yeah.
like he's also never going to pass it to anybody.
Full chaos, eh?
No, I feel like you can do better than that. The forwards are tricky to pick.
Nathan Villeneuve, fresh off of his massive suspension for being a naughty boy. I'd say Nathan Villeneuve.
Okay.
Send him out there and go nuts.
All right. I see it.
It's a lot of defensemen. Like, can we just make a line of defensemen? Like, throw Levchinov out there.
Yeah, like chaos is like usually a defensive thing unless you've got a Daniil Boo, and you don't have a Daniil Boo.
Daniil Boots. Yeah, I don't know, but definitely Pulkkinen's on that team. Definitely.
He wears the C.
Yeah, he wears the captain. Say Matthew Boldy is still on the board for the Habs in 2019. Do you take Boldy over Caulfield if given the chance? Directed at you.
Directed at me?
Yes.
Look, man, I'm still taking Caulfield.
Me too. I agree. I love Matt Boldy, though.
I love Matt Boldy.
Yeah.
I love Matt Boldy. I love Matt Boldy now more than I did then, but I liked Boldy a lot in his draft year. But even then, no, it's Cole Caulfield, man.
Yeah.
Caulfield is built to be a Hab.
Yeah. Okay. What else do we got going on here? David Phillips sassing me for saying Anthony Stolar's not being always good. I mean, he has been good for a few years. That's true, but he also bounced around. So, Okay. Who do you see as a replacement for Ken Holland at the end of the year with it being rumored to retire? Jeff Jackson is a believer in drafting and development and sees it as a weakness.
I volunteer as tribute.
I know a certain person in Alberta who is our graphic designer that would love to do that job, who talks about it constantly.
Peter Shirelli?
No, graphic designer Ray Ann always like when I grow up one day. When I grow up one day and become the general manager of the Edmonton Oilers, something he always likes to remind us of, which I think is funny. But
yes,
it's just gonna be Jeff Jackson. Like that's who's gonna replace him. I think the writing's on the wall.
That's
essentially
they're training him for that job, right?
And I think he picked Knobloch as well. Like he's worked with Jeff Jackson before.
Yeah,
I think they're basically. Think of it as like a co-monarchship where Ken Holland is dying, essentially, and Jeff Jackson.
Are they editing his photos?
No, but it's like
God.
It's like as a monarch, right? Like when you have like co-reign, like co-emperors or co-kings.
You've got like gallbladder cancer, and you're on your deathbed, and
like
it's
have
true.
Somebody in place who's ruling for you. Or as like your partner, basically a transition period between one to the next, and that's what I think is going on. But Ken Holland's not dying, so I just want to get that on the record.
By the way, I want to shout out before we go for the day, and there's one more question. But since history came up, thanks to AJ, I got to shout out a YouTube channel I've been obsessed with. A guy a PhD historian by the name of Sean Munger. He makes like at least 1 hour long videos about very interesting historical things. The one I watched was about Iran-Contra. If you don't know what that is, you can watch it, but it's really cool. And I sat through 3 hours of one of his one YouTube video that was 3 hours long today while I worked about the fall of monarchies from 1850 until 1930 and like how the world kind of left monarchies in the dust and like what happened and why. It was crazy. It's crazy.
Wait, I actually kind of want to watch that.
Dude, when you get home, we can hop on a call and we'll watch one together because they're really, really good.
It's a little late to start a 3 hour one.
The one that I would recommend too, if you're more of the humorous type, there was one about the history of sewage treatment, which is actually
sent earlier.
What? Yeah, I sent you that. Yeah, I sent it to you because it was like the history of poop.
I was like, I gotta respond to this later, and then I kind of forgot to. So
I was invigorated. It was amazing, like because it's fascinating. Like going from what we used to have, back in the good old days, to what we have now. It didn't just like happen overnight.
No,
like it was crazy.
Over a week,
things were crazy. Yeah, no, it was nutty. We live in the best time to be a human being. Holy smokes. But anyway, I think there was one last question before we go. Oh no, that wasn't it. No, that was it. I think that's all of them, right? AJ, if you see anything that I missed.
Yeah, no, there's nothing that I see missed. Just the person who put up talked about Hertl just had a bit of a correction of what they were saying. about not necessarily like putting down Hertl, just kind of trying to reason it. And I get it.
No, I figured. Yeah, no,
like,
that
he's
makes
a
sense.
2C.
San Jose fan probably sees people going nuts about him, and then it's just like, bro, come on, man.
People
like, I
always
watch him,
freak
and no
out
one
about-
else is watching him either, because like it's an East Coast, or most people who comment are East Coast guys, and who is staying up to watch the Sharks?
Right.
I can tell you one thing.
Sometimes
I love William
sadly.
Eklund. I'm not staying up to watch the Sharks. So my perspective is whatever.
Shamefully admit that I do that sometimes. But I would just say, like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and at the end of the day, like, if you're Tomas Hertl or if you're a Sharks fan, like, you give up a guy who's going to be their second line center in Vegas for a while, and he's going to get older. And in return, you get a guy who could be one of your bottom 6 centers, third or fourth line center, and you get a first round pick. And who knows what you turn that into? Could be another third or fourth line center, who, for all you know. And 2 third line centers for a second line center doesn't sound so bad.
A boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything.
Yes, exactly.
It could even be a boat. You know how much we've wanted one of those?
I know. It could be a boat.
We got the mystery box. Hop in.
Classic.
That's a Family Guy
classic.
bit, right?
It is,
Okay.
yeah. Old Family Guy from back in the day.
Like the first 3 seasons when they were
something
really
like that.
funny.
Anyway, that'll be it for tonight. We'll do a final ad read and then we'll take off. But AJ, Samuel, thank you for coming down. This was a
You're
good
very
time,
welcome.
as always. Yeah. Anyway, but we're brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our affiliate link below or scan the QR code to provide a kickback to the show on anything you buy in the store. We're also brought to you by Puck Preps Hockey for all your NCAA and CHL prospect needs, where Sam and I definitely need to do some work on the 06s this year and refine that list because it's very long and I don't know a quarter of them, which is probably bad to admit.
On
but
the list.
yeah,
I've watched a lot. I suppose I've seen a lot of hockey.
We'll get it done. We'll figure it out. We're also brought to you by Fractal Hockey Consulting, which is my business for hand-tracked player targeted player analysis and recruitment packages for the NCAA, Europe, and beyond, with tons of solutions for any of your organization's needs. And of course, Scouching.ca for exclusive access to innovative data tools with insights into the draft and prospects making their way to the NHL. You can subscribe at Scouching.ca, gain access to all kinds of fun stuff in a Discord server where we will definitely one day tell the story of the most prized possession in my household, just not on the internet live. So thank you very much for joining me and Sam and AJ. This was a lot of fun. Any parting words, fellas?
I think you
It's
know
a good
my
story.
parting words.
Oh, well, yeah, but
It's a good story.
oh, okay. All right. Well, on
Go,
that
Leafs,
note,
go.
okay. Well, on that note, then
Yeah, on that note. Have
thank
a
you,
good
everybody.
night, everybody.
We'll see you on Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Go Leafs.